Mm.
All right, here we go. Okay, welcome to episode 4
Woo!
of Let's Get Vulnerable with Dominica May. That's me. And two of my regular guests, Sharad from Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia, and Mike, who is visiting us from New York City. I
I'm
love that.
visiting.
Just love that we have this 3 different time zones conversation stuff going on. It's awesome. So before we get started, Mike has something interesting to share with us.
Well,
Like,
two things.
let's go
One,
live before you share.
for anyone who hasn't tried gluten-free pretzels, I'm not going to say they're better than the real thing, but they're really good. Has that crunch and it still tastes like a pretzel. Can't even tell.
What is it made out of for it to be gluten-free?
Cornstarch.
Nice.
Super good. And the crunch is super crunchy. But the real treat are the cookies that my wife makes every year for Thanksgiving. You can see the eyeball fell off of this turkey, but
That's so cool.
they're so tasty and so good. And we just, I mean, they were left over from Thanksgiving. So Thanksgiving was what, like 2 weeks ago? So Kim had, my wife's name is Kim. Kim had the idea of putting them in the microwave to kind of soften them up a little bit.
Wow.
Oh,
Wow. That's great. I love it.
You're a lucky man, Mike. Well done.
Don't I know it?
Your wife is so talented.
Yeah, man. She's funny. She just had a show tonight. She bakes amazing cookies. She's super kick-ass in her job. Like,
wait, is your missus a comic as well?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Do you remember they met through improv?
Oh, that's right. Quick question: do you guys ever have issues about who is the? Do you guys ever try to one up each other in terms of who's funnier?
No.
No. Are you sure,
I mean,
Michael? Are you sure?
Okay, fine. She's funny. It's the whole, like, we've built our entire relationship off of just like this mutual respect for each other. There's nothing about our relationship that is like we try to one up each other. We genuinely make an effort to try and treat each other as equals. So, like, I don't know, one person may have more experience in, whatever field, but that doesn't mean that either one of us is better at anything else than the other. So, yeah.
Exactly. I was the same way when I dated a comedian. I've dated multiple improvisers or comedians. So it's like that's my history. I don't think we ever had any of that competitive nature with it. It was just like mutual respect and appreciation for each other's gifts in comedy. Yeah.
I mean, if you're funny, you're funny. Like, why does one person have to be funnier than the other?
Well, I think that's the best thing about any kind of relationship is that mutual respect. Like, if you're trying to one up each other, that's kind of toxic in a relationship. My marriage had that kind of competitive nature to it, and it was like, and yet it lasted too long.
Sometimes they do. Sometimes they do.
Sometimes.
How about you, Sharad? Are you and your missus Sorry, are you married?
No. I am very, very happily single. I was in a relationship before I fell ill, but like I was in the hospital, and they told me that there was a chance I would never walk again or continue anything again. So I remember actually, that's a surprising thing. I asked them about that, and they were like, "We don't know," but surprisingly, she helped out when I was in the hospital, so that actually turned out to be true. So it was fine. No, but other than that, they told me that there was a chance I wouldn't be able to walk again. But yeah, so I remember like just thinking like she came over one time and I was like, let's just call it a day, because I don't want you down the line. This will eventually turn to resentment. Not that you'll actively make that choice, but you will over time. So I mean, she, as far as I know, she's doing okay. She's happy, and that's all right.
That's great.
Yeah.
My dad's just popped in for a quick hi before he has to leave for his art group. But he wants to wish us well. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to, like, he's been leaving a ton of comments. Only watches after the fact. So,
well, thanks so much for popping in and saying hi. You want a pretzel?
Because you can send that virtually through the computer screen.
How crazy would it be if, like, we hadn't planned this at all, and I'm just like, here, take a pretzel, and I pass it past the screen, and then you reach out and you pull one back.
Man, wow. Now I wonder if I do have pretzels in my house or not. They're not in my room if I do. And if I do, they're not gluten-free ones. But the audience wouldn't have to know, right? Next time we will plan ahead. That sounds great. My dad has been getting so much out of watching these, and we've been chatting. Sometimes like he sends me really long messages and I get really overwhelmed and I have to take my time until I get back to him. And I talked to my I had a therapist appointment today, and I completely forgot that I was having all this back and forth with my dad until like the very end of my appointment. And so I was just told her about some of the stuff that we've been discussing. And I was like, can we talk about this next week? Because I feel like I need to.
Yeah. Tell me about therapy. Because I've had my experiences in therapy, and they have not been good. So like, if you don't mind my prying a little bit,
not at all.
What do you guys talk about?
So it depends on what I want to be working on. Like I've been working with this therapist since like April or May of last year, and I have almost weekly appointments. So weekly appointments unless something comes up that one or both of us are not able to make it for. And, I started going because I wanted to work through some of my relationship issues, because I was feeling like, someone had, expressed interest in me, and I kind of freaked out about it. It's like clearly not ready to date after, almost 4 years after my divorce. Was like, no, three. At that point last year, and so then what I ended up talking about with her first was trying to deal with still like my Malaysian ex who had ghosted me 10 years ago, and like work through the trauma of that to that and my marriage, of kind of working through some of that stuff. And so it's just kind of been an ongoing process of that. And so I was working through for a while boundaries, being able to express my boundaries when I need to. And then she was the one who kind of encouraged me to go back to Malaysia last year. Was like one of the very few people that supported me trying to reconnect with my Malaysian ex, and help me like work through all of that, and like the healing that I got as a result of reconnecting with him, and then the trauma that I went through when he ghosted me again, and how it's kind of snowballed from there. So if I don't have a lot of stuff going on during the week, then I can work through some past stuff. But if I have a lot of stuff that I've been dealing with, which has been the case this year, it's mostly been, what happened that impacted me this past week, and what can I do to kind of move forward from this? Yeah.
How about you, Sharad? Have you ever been to therapy?
Yes and no. Well, that's a lie. Yes, obviously I have. I mean, At first, it was very, very strange to me because I did this when I was first in the UK. I was going through university, and I think I was going through burnout from, being away from home and always up until that point, I was always in education. It was nonstop. There was no gap year. There were no breaks and everything. So I mean, I found it quite interesting. And so, but then later on, after I fell ill, it became a lot more scientific as into how your brain acts the way it does and the chemical makeup and everything. And I found it very interesting. But in my experience, you just need to find a balance because obviously there are some people, I'm sure both of you know, that are like super stoic, some that have never been a day in their lives in therapy, and it shows, and like they're really, really like built up. Like for example, my dad, he's like very, very. You think of those old school gentlemen. That's my dad, and he, doesn't talk about his feelings until it bottles up, that kind of thing. But then at the same time, the flip side of that, especially this is when I was in Savannah, Georgia at the time, you get people on the opposite side where I'm just like, what's going on here, kid? Like, so you have to find that kind of middle ground in there somewhere. But I do approve that everyone should go for it because I do think that therapy it's no different than going to see a doctor, because if your body's hurting, you go see a doctor. If you're emotionally hurting, go see a therapist. So it's something I advocate for completely.
There are a lot of situations where people go to therapy because of the people in their life that need therapy as well. So like, I feel like that's been the case for me. Like I'm dealing with people that refuse to go to therapy, but clearly need it. Like my ex-husband was one of them, but he didn't believe in therapy because it was always other people's fault, not his own. It's like, no, you gotta take some responsibility for what's wrong. You can't be all another person's fault for everything. My Malaysian ex also clearly needed therapy. Don't know if it's ever something that he's ever going to get, but yeah, like, so that's why I'm just like dealing with stuff. But yeah, relationship stuff I've had a lot of issues with over the years. So I'm just kind of like, I'll do my own research, but it's really helpful to talk it through with my therapist as well, rather than just watching videos and coming up to my own conclusions, because my therapist knows me so well now. So she can be like, really, Dominica, you're doing that. But then there's other times where I talked about this on a different stream where she's kind of enables me in a sense. So there was a while that I was still stalking my ex on social media, and like I would come to her with like videos that he'd posted or whatever and talk to her about that. And then she got to the point of after I shared a couple of links with her, she started following him on Instagram, and I was like, really? Like, really? And yeah, but I'm not doing that anymore. So it's like I'm feeling a little bit more better. But like she's also reading my memoir to kind of help me through some of the stuff that I like. My memoir is very vulnerable about everything that I've been through. And she's really encouraging in the sense of telling me how talented I am as a writer. And I need that kind of stuff as well, need that validation. So I was like, yes, and then I will eventually publish it. But I was talking to her about it today as well. I was like, I know I need to go back to it. I haven't touched it in over a month now. I haven't looked at it. And in a sense, I'm like, I feel like it's been good for me to not have been looking at it, because it means that I'm not thinking about my ex as much. That's been healthy for me. But when I'm afraid if I go back to it that I'm going to get stuck back into the kind of spiral that I was in before when I was working on it. So so catch-22. But I was like, it's a really good story and I need to publish it too.
Well, I suppose that the good thing about you not having looked at it in so long, it's almost like a fresh pair of eyes, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean maybe because like I've been in that situation where I'm editing for clients and you're looking at it all day, all night until like by day 3 you're getting cross-eyed. You know what I mean? So sometimes like a bit of space is good.
Oh, yeah, but it's more like the last 3 chapters that I added, like, in October that I still didn't quite finish off before I added them before, because I haven't sent those chapters to any of my readers yet, so I need to finish those up before I do that. I'm sorry, I've been missing all my dad's messages in here.
We'll pull him up.
He's leaving right now anyway, but he just mentioned that he watched a video related to autism, discovered that he has an automatic reaction. I guess that's an autism thing. My dad discovered that he was autistic through learning that I am autistic and my son as well. Yeah, it's hereditary. So there you go. There's a genetic component.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's how a lot of women get diagnosed, is after their children get diagnosed. Then they're like, oh, that's where that comes from. My dad enjoyed the pretzel thing.
I got you,
Frank. So auto reaction relates to requests seen as demands that shut me down. Aha! That's pathological demand avoidance. I have that too.
Wait. Try that again. Pathological
what does that
demand avoidance. So that's basically when somebody tells you that you should or you have to do something, and your immediate reaction is, well, now that you've told me that I need to do this, I'm not going to do it. Yeah. Like I got to so my best example of this that I have, it ended up leading to another ex of mine who lives in Washington DC. He and I like reconnected as friends, and I was talking to him about my Malaysian ex back in 2021 when my Malaysian ex was live streaming, and I'm like, I really want to reach out to him, and my DC ex was like, do not comment on his live streams. And like, the more he was insisting that it was a bad idea, the more I was like, fuck you. I was like, I'm good. And I was like, no, we can't. Like, I knew it was a bad idea, right? So we just got to the point, I was like, clearly we need to take a break from each other, because you are making me want to do something that I know I shouldn't do just because you're telling me not to do it. So
I have always been that person of, just don't go there. Well, that's all I want to do now, and I know that a lot of that is human nature. We talk a lot about this in improv. If you have a scene partner who is, pouring a bowl of cereal and it's annoying their roommate. And the roommate says, stop pouring cereal in your bowl. Well, that just makes you want to do it even more, right? Because that's comedy. But also...
But apparently not everyone has that reaction.
Right. I just thought everybody did. I thought that was...
No, it's very common in neurodivergent people, especially ADHD and autistic people. For sure. There are probably other people that do that as well, but I've definitely read, because I read a lot about autism and ADHD. So I don't personally have ADHD, but there's a lot of similarities with
How were you
autism.
diagnosed with autism?
So technically my diagnosis is neurodevelopmental disorder - other, with the caveat that if I was diagnosed under DSM-4, then I would have Asperger's, which has now fallen under the autism umbrella. So that's so it's just easier for me to say I'm autistic. But my son got evaluated we started his evaluation in late 2016, and then he got his diagnosis in 2017. And as I was answering all the questions for him, I'm just like, all this stuff seems pretty normal to me. Why are you like pathologizing this stuff? Because I do all this stuff too, right? Yeah. So it's like,
I'm not.
What does the word pathological mean?
In that context, I think it just means that it's like
instinctive.
I don't know. It's like,
so like we use it all the time. Oh, that
right.
person's pathological. That's a pathological liar.
Right. It's like
Pathological pain.
maybe they can't help it. Maybe. Yeah. Maybe.
It's like instinct, I'd say.
Yeah, probably. But yeah, that's a good question. I've never actually looked it up in the dictionary.
It's one of those words that everybody uses, but nobody really knows what it means.
Mhm.
Yeah, I thought it meant like crazy.
It
Because
sounds
it's like
like
it
it,
sounds
right?
like that, right? But no, it's probably more the just instinctive. They can't help it. It's it just happens, reactive kind of
Which,
stuff.
I mean, if that indeed, and here we are with all of our smart devices in our pockets,
Right.
we're not even going to pull them out to look it up. It is kind of funny that if indeed it does mean like instinctual, which I think that is a very apt definition. For someone, because we all watch the news and we all have that crazy uncle or the crazy aunt who watches the news and they look at so and so political figure and say, "Oh, that person's pathological." Correct. Everyone is.
Yeah.
We are all pathological.
Yeah.
Because we are all instinctive.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm gonna actually look it up now because I feel like I need to. So I have the Merriam-Webster dictionary on my phone. Wait, how is it spelled?
It's when they behave in an extreme and unacceptable way and have very powerful feelings that they cannot control,
Yeah,
i.e.,
there you go.
he experiences chronic, almost pathological jealousy. So that's interesting.
So it's an impulse that you can't control?
Yeah, it's something that you
and
you cannot
over
control.
the top like kind of way. So
Yeah.
and in the Merriam-Webster dictionary, it says altered or caused by disease.
I think that's
Or
brain.
being such to a degree that is extreme, excessive, or markedly abnormal. Which is that's.
But then again, what is the definition of abnormal in that instance? I mean, nowadays, do we even know? So,
well, the more I mean, to that point, the more we discover and the more we learn about how XYZ works. Earlier, Sharad, you were talking about like some older generations and their response to therapy and and like in that archetype of person, whenever like new discoveries, like medical discoveries or conditions are uncovered, their whole response is very much but it's also combined with in my day you were either good or you were sick, and they can't accept that there are so many more nuanced conditions now because we have the verbiage for it. Science has actually uncovered a lot of these conditions, and it's not one or the other. It's I think the concept, the verbiage of spectrum really helps to understand.
Right. It's like the people complaining is like, why is everyone autistic these days? It's like, oh, there's the same percentage as there was in the past.
We all are.
There is no, we're not all. Just a lot of people that I know happen to be, even if they don't know that they are, but that's because we're drawn to each other. So like I will diagnose friends if I think they're autistic because I can see the signs.
That's funny.
And sometimes they're receptive and sometimes they are not. So but yeah, like it's because there's a lot more awareness about it now. When it was originally kind of written about as a diagnosable condition, it was just studied in young boys, and so it was based on the traits of young boys who are autistic rather than and it presents differently in girls generally, and so a lot of autistic girls got missed, which is why so many women like me are late diagnosed after their kids have been diagnosed. Yeah. So
Interesting.
Yeah.
Next question.
We haven't even opened up any of the cards yet. amazing, right?
Let's open one.
My dad said catch you later before, and he's just left another comment. Pathological is also related to diagnosable disorder, something in diagnostic books. I think that was one of the definitions in the Merriam-Webster, like related to a disease or whatever. Anyway, which deck do you want me to start from today?
Can you remind us which decks we have on offer today?
So we have, let's see, this one.
Hold on.
Play your cards, right? What?
I have a deck of my own that I
Do you
just
really?
remembered. Let me go get it.
Wow. We'll wait for Mike to show up with another deck. We could have some brand new question decks.
Remind us again, Dominica, like how many decks do you have? You've got 3 or 4?
5.
5.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
yeah.
Okay.
I think I showed them all off on my Instagram reel that I posted yesterday. I just yesterday upgraded my Instagram to a business account, and so now I'm seeing all the analytics insights that I didn't see before. I was like, oh man, I wish I'd upgraded sooner, because I would have been really curious to see more analytics insights about some reels that I posted a couple of months ago. I was like, god damn. But now but even though I can't see the in-depth insights or analytics about those ones, what I can see that I couldn't see before is the number of people who have saved my posts or reels, which is interesting. What's that?
Oh,
ooh,
the image is
icebreaker.
backwards.
I think that's you could flip your camera around.
Icebreaker.
I think that might be the same. Yeah, this is the same company as this one. This one's Best Self. Too.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice. Okay.
I recognize the logo. See, look, look at that too. That's awesome. Yeah. So I was just talking about how there you go. Now you're the right way. It's so weird.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Mike, is your Instagram just a regular account, or do you have a business account so you can see all the analytics?
I think mine's just a standard account. It's nothing that exciting. Like, so mine's just very, very simple. So, do you guys know how you can activate it to a business account?
Yeah, it's pretty easy. I did it on the desktop, I think. Logging on my computer to do it.
I think I have both.
Ooh, fancy.
But yeah, it was. I just went through like some of my older posts and seeing like the stats of if anyone saved any of my posts, and I was like, oh man, I'm so curious to know who saved this particular post, because I don't know like what kind of person would save this post. Like I have someone who saved, and I don't know if they're the same person, but a couple of pictures of me and a friend of mine that I shared on Instagram. I'm like, and this particular friend can't be him because he's not on Instagram, right? So I'm like, who is saving pictures of me and a friend of mine? Like that's weird.
Ooh. Interesting.
For example, yeah. I'm like, I don't know.
One of my cats has just entered the room, so we may be getting a visitor.
Ooh.
I'm gonna let you guys choose.
Pick a category. Oh.
Live, random, deep experiences, if you could. Ooh.
I
How
went
about we
deep.
start with you went deep?
I went deep.
All right, let's start with
You don't want to start with deep. I'm curious also about experiences.
Or if I could. That one also sounds interesting.
So which one? If
I could.
All right, so let's start with deep, and the next one is if you could.
All right, let's do that.
Deep. Let's go right into the middle of this deck. What's something you disagree with about the way you were raised?
I feel like I kind of answered this last week. I mean, I was raised Catholic, so that's a big one. And so, you know, my parents practiced the rhythm method of birth control. So
what's the rhythm method?
The rhythm method is where you track the ovulation cycle and like only have sex when you know it's 100% safe to not have children. Yeah. So yeah, that's like my mum had passed away before I got married, but when I was engaged, my dad and my godmother, they both encouraged me and my now ex-husband to go to this marriage preparation weekend thing for Catholics. It's like designed for Catholics to make sure that you're on the right page, like same page with your ideas about the future and that sort of thing. It was called Engaged Encounter, and her hot load of good that was. I rediscovered I still have the booklets that we had to fill out at this weekend, and like I went through my ex-husband's booklet as I was going through our divorce and like reading some of the stuff that he'd written. I was like, you fucking bullshit stuff that you did not believe any of this crap that you wrote about in here. You're just clearly saying this stuff to get me to continue my decision to marry you. That's not even really related to the question. But yeah, like so the main thing that I'm thinking about in this particular thing is like he promised me that he wanted to have a monogamous marriage with me in that booklet. Like he wrote, that was one of the things he promised me. And like, do you know how long that lasted? Very short. Like he wanted to mess around with other people while I was pregnant, and I got pregnant on our honeymoon. So like
geez.
that's how soon that he flipped from wanting monogamy to something else.
Wow.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Very, very different. Still not sure that's probably as, but raised religiously. I because I've not raised my kids to follow any kind of religion or anything like that. I still have a lot of the values that Christianity taught me, but I don't think that religion is what I need to follow those kinds of values, you know.
No.
Interesting.
How about you, Sharad?
You go fast.
Nothing about the way that I was raised that I disagree with. I don't know if there's a lot that I disagree with how I was raised. Like there were definitely challenges. Like being raised in the Mormon church. Like that there was a lot of expectation kind of put on you. Some of that expectation I think was positive, and some of that expectation I think was negative. And I don't necessarily attribute that solely to the Mormon church. I think there's plenty of organizations that have undue pressure put on people and expectations put on people. So I don't know, trying to maybe see what some of those trigger points are and avoid them for my kids. I know last week we talked about like there were things about my parents' parenting style or just like attributes or traits that you don't want to have from your parents as an adult. There's a lot of that as well. Oh, here's one.
Tell us.
Here's one that just came to mind as I circle the drain looking for something in my brain. So my mother, in order to understand why she was this way, you have to understand like where this came from. So my mother was a very overprotective mother, like very overprotective. And all of that if not 95%, if not all of that, came from an instance when she was a very little girl, no more than 6 years old. Every summer, so my mom grew up in Salt Lake City, Utah, and every summer she would go up and spend like 3 months uh, up with her aunt and uncle, something like that, on a farm in Idaho. It was really far away, ish far away. And there was this one moment where there's one morning she woke up and everybody was gone. It was like Kevin McAllister Home Alone, right? But with like a 5, 6 year old girl, and everyone was just gone. Of course, they were all in the fields, like they were all doing their farm work for the day, and she had no breakfast, she had no lunch, she had to like forage for her own food. No one was around, and she didn't know where anyone was. So for the vast majority of the day, she sat on the front porch and cried because she was all alone. And then after the sun went down, everyone came home, and somebody put the kettle on the pot and made dinner and blah blah blah, and she was fine. But that scarred her, being alone all by yourself all day, not understanding where everyone went and having to fend for yourself. That informed the vast majority of decisions she made in her life. That really scarred her deep, deep, deep down to her core. And when my brother and I came along, also taking into consideration that we grew up in Pennsylvania, so my mom's whole support system was back in Utah,
Mm.
and here, on this little, colloquial island, so to speak. It was just my mom, my dad, my brother, and myself. It was just the four of us, and we are all alone. We were all on our own. Um, in the community which we were raised, we were outsiders. My mom was from Salt Lake, my dad was from Youngstown, Ohio, and my brother and I were the only two really born in the community. But because we were the Mormon family, because my mom had such a tight um, grip on what we did, when we did it, who we did it with, and the vast majority of the answers were no, you're not doing that. It all stemmed from her being scared that something would happen to us and she would never see us again. Like, we would always joke about being abducted by aliens, but the root of the fear was kind of that we would never be seen again, at least by her. And if anyone has, a lot of these fears got stoked. If anyone's familiar with, there's a television show on Netflix. It's a documentary series called Cold Case Files. It's about all of these,
Yeah.
abductions and murders and cases that have just never been solved. Season 1, episode 1 is about a little girl from my hometown. Her name is Shauna Howe, Howe. Shauna was 1 year younger than I was, so I never met her because she also went to a different school. But we all had friends in common. And one night, Shauna went to a Girl Scout meeting, and the Girl Scout master, instead of dropping her off in front of her home, dropped her off on the corner by the YMCA, and so she could drive off and send all the other girls home, right? So Shauna, being dropped off at the YMCA at like 10 o'clock at night, never made it home. And it was like a 2-block walk, right?
Wow.
And the next morning, her best friend, who was one of the other girls in the car, was a friend of mine. Her name is June. June came in. I was in 4th grade at the time. June came into homeroom and just crying and crying and crying. I'm like, June, what's wrong? What happened? And she said, my best friend never came home from Girl Scouts last night. And I'm like, we're 4 years old. Or sorry, we're in the 4th grade. We're what, like 8, 9, something like that. The thought, the conceivability that something nefarious had happened to Shauna never crossed our minds. So here we are trying to calm her down and saying, like, well, I'm sure she's fine. Like, we couldn't put two and two together, right? So of course it turned out that I'm gonna go ahead and spoil that episode of Cold Case Files for you. I'll leave out the gory details because they're pretty gnarly. But she was abducted by two guys who had just gotten out of prison earlier that day.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. And so her body wasn't found for like 2 weeks, miles and miles away. And there's so many more details about the story, but they didn't figure it out who did it for 15 years.
Wow.
The whole town, the whole community, the entire county really basically canceled Halloween because it happened all around Halloween, right? So here we are living this in real time. Halloween is, like when your parents threaten, hey, shape up or I'm going to cancel Christmas. And you always say, there's no canceling Christmas. Christmas happens everywhere. Well, the mayor of the town canceled Halloween. Trick-or-treating was done for like 5 or 6 years, just canceled. And then when they did bring it back, it was only on Saturdays, like the Saturday before Halloween, during daylight hours from like 1 o'clock in the afternoon to 3 o'clock in the afternoon, something like that.
Did they cancel it because they were worried that kids would be abducted?
Yes, because they didn't know who did it.
Yeah, right. How would, anything like that could happen again if you don't catch who was behind it.
Yeah, it was terrifying. So all of those fears of my mom had of us being abducted or just going away, the whole Shauna Howe thing really, really, really messed her up. So it made that grip that much tighter. So what does this have to do with the question? All that is to say, my mom never got the help that she needed. She never knew that she had depression. She never knew that she had control issues. She never knew that she had all of these conditions that needed to be treated. And so therefore she lashed out at us for our safety. We didn't know it was for our safety, but whatever. So something that I disagree with is that level of control that one has. I definitely appreciate how protective she was and how much she loved us and continues to love us. But there were some key rudimentary parts of a child growing up. There's certain landmarks or rites of passage, if you will, that I never got to partake in. I remember I was a senior in high school. I was a senior in high school. I was 18 years old. And I finally, as you go through school, there's like the cool kids and there's the nerdy kids. I was always the nerdy kid. I was never accepted by the cool kid group. Well, finally, as a senior in high school, all that bullshit just kind of like melted away. And I was being accepted by the cool kid crowd. And they all went to this one girl's house, and we're all going to watch the movie Gone in 60 Seconds with Nicolas Cage. It had just come out. And I was so thrilled to be there because A, that was a really fun movie, and I'd never seen it before. High octane.
It's great.
Really fun.
Great.
And B, I was being accepted by the cool kid group. And at 9 o'clock, my mom calls and says, "Where are you? You need to be home right now." And I'm like, "Mom, I'm hanging out with we're right in the middle of a movie. Also, you told me that you would be home at 9 o'clock.
Also, you're fucking 18. You're an adult."
It sounds like you were like 12 or 13.
Yeah. So, um, yeah, I disagree with that level of controlled parenting. Maybe a little, of course, sure, but
Yeah. My parents weren't that bad, but I did feel to some extent some control that made me make decisions that I might not have otherwise because I worried how my parents were going to react to it. But I didn't have that level of control. Like just by contrast, so when I was 16, my mum flew to Melbourne with me for the Melbourne International Comedy Festival because I really wanted to go, and I had internet friends at that point that I wanted to meet. So like she came along with me for that. But then the following year, when I was 17, she let me fly to Melbourne by myself. And stayed with an internet friend that I had never met in person before. I had a comedian sneak me into the main lounge that they had for like after parties at the Melbourne Comedy Festival when I was underage. But I had this comedian that I was kind of close to who snuck me in, and it was like I was getting up to all kinds of mischief. But my mom was like,
wow.
I can trust her.
Awesome.
But I wonder if my dad's actually gone now because he like left this in the comment before. This comment was in response to me talking about the Engaged Encounter book. He's like, grounds for annulment, that book where my ex-husband had written that he was planning on having a monogamous marriage with me. I'm like, I'm divorced now, over 4 years. Like, I don't think I can get an annulment on top of that.
Probably not.
But anyway,
is your dad still here? Has he left any comments since then?
No, not since that one. So I mean, he had said catch you later before. I don't know, like maybe he was still like getting ready to go out. He'll be back later. I'm sure he'll leave some comments about this later.
Oh, we'll be here until 4:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
You really no, you don't have to stay that late.
I have interviews that I need to conduct tomorrow,
including with me.
I do. Cool. Are you the first of the day?
I don't know. Am I?
I think you're the only one tomorrow.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, Mike has been conducting interviews for his improv business.
Oh,
talking about how improv can help you in the workplace, basically, right? That's
that's interesting.
Yeah,
okay, we can definitely talk about that later. I think that's something that will really
follow Pineapple Improv if you want to know more about that. There you go.
Well, I've got the sticker here. Follow Pineapple Improv right underneath the X-Men.
Are you on Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn or
everything? So the show is if you're looking on Instagram, it's pineapple_improv.
Pineapple_improv. There you are. Okay.
So the show specifically is designed for LinkedIn. Of course, I posted like to Facebook, I posted to Instagram, I posted to YouTube, but it's specifically for Instagram because that's where all the business professionals are, right?
Right.
So yeah, just trying to give people snippets, a little bit of an insight as to how improv training can help in blank area. So like, I think today we covered the topics of how improv cultivate relationships through improv, collaboration, team building. I'm trying to think what. There was interviewed this guy earlier today from Boston. His episode will come out on January 1st. Wednesday, January 1st. But I'll give you a little spoiler, a little insight. He's a police or a corrections officer in Boston. And our topic of conversation was using improv to diffuse situations. And he had this really cool story where he said, like, he's had death threats from inmates before. So how do you diffuse that high tension of a situation. And so he said one time he's, walking an inmate down the hallway, and the inmate turns to him and says, "I'm gonna kill you." And he goes, "What, like now? Like today? You're gonna kill me today? You should have done it yesterday." Like, I was not in a good headspace yesterday. Like, today I'm feeling well adjusted. I would have taken you up on that yesterday. And so, like, if you're the person offering the threat, like, what do you say to that? Like, you've taken the power away through humor. And everyone else around who's watching this whole thing, they can also understand that what a ridiculous thing it is to threaten a corrections officer. And the way that this guy handled the situation is it's smart, it's clever, but it also harbors a sense of trust with the other inmates, with the people who aren't going to threaten his life. And, they have a little bit more shorthand. So humor develops a sense of, trust and safety. Anyway, but so
like
that's,
that.
all that. But yeah.
Sharad hasn't answered the question.
Right. Sorry. Something I disagree with. Okay, I think with me, I come from a very privileged background. Both my parents were medical doctors, very, very successful in their fields. And it's very, very normal for not just successful professionals, but any parent to want to do the best for their child, to give them the best education possible. And one thing I disagreed with, looking back on it now, is when you thrust your children, what have you, into education, trying to get them to fit a mold and just get them to, school, college, university, PhD, whatever, and job, but you have to hit all these certain markers to get there. And it was difficult because obviously as a younger person, I couldn't really concentrate. I had very, very bad habits and what have you. And only until I was much, much older, until I was like 19, 20, even maybe a bit older than that's when I really matured. And I thought, okay, maybe I should probably sit down and study. And then I thought, oh, this studying stuff's actually pretty cool. And I actually became really good at it, where like I remember back in the day, my parents would moan about, oh, we have to spend how much on tuition for this kid, and like, extra tuition and do this and do that. And then later on when I was older, I was just so intense on learning as much as I could. So it's different because when you have that misconception that when you're young, your brain's a sponge, which is true, you also need that maturity to kind of turn that part of your brain on.
I have a question. Did you feel like your parents were pressuring you to study harder throughout all of that?
When I was younger, yes, because you have to take into account as well. It's a stereotype about Asian parents. It's true,
it's a stereotype for a reason. Yeah.
But my parents were awesome. They weren't hardcore about it. They just wanted the best for me. So, but at the same time, for me, it was a combination of processing everything and just being in the correct mindset. This didn't mean that I had a troubled childhood. Far from it. It just meant that I needed to have maturity and to have that part of my brain turned on, ready to accept what was coming in. Because for example, like you could have a world-class education with all these amazing resources, but if nothing's coming in, do you know what I mean? So
yeah.
So I think that's a big misconception, that when you're a child, you got to feed the kid as much as you can.
Yeah.
And that,
I was wondering if it was like some, going back to what we were talking about earlier, pathological demand avoidance kind of situation. It was like, I'm not going to study because you can't make me.
Well, I don't know, because like for me, it wasn't a choice. It's not like, oh, I didn't like studying. I did, because I enjoyed being with my friends. I enjoyed learning new things. It just didn't seem to go through. Like, for example, like with mathematics, science, horrible. I was a horrible student. And that broke my parents' hearts because they were both medical doctors. They were like, no.
But sometimes it just takes longer to come through or to get through to that kind of thing. I didn't feel like I pressured my kids into any particular direction, and they have been sponges for being super smart and getting like, you know, top grades without me pressuring them to do anything in a particular way. But you know, I think that's probably part of the autism aspect. Both of my kids have now the autism diagnosis. When my son was going through the diagnosis, I thought my daughter was the same as well. I thought it was like this all this stuff is true of my daughter too, and I tried to get her evaluated at the same time, but at that particular time she wasn't struggling socially, so my son's therapist was like, we don't need to worry about it. So it was only more recently that she was struggling with some things. I was like, finally, like, can we see and about getting her evaluated, and then she got a diagnosis too.
What were you
Sharad,
like in
earlier-
school, Mike? Were you a good student in school?
Me?
No, Mike.
Oh, Mike.
Not particularly. I wasn't bad. I got high C's, low B's. If I got an A, I would surprise myself. I only ever got one failing grade once, and my mom let me have it. She tore me up one side and down the other. I remember I got it was in chemistry, 10th grade chemistry, and I hated chemistry. I hated it, and I was no good. I don't have a scientific mind. I have an artistic mind. So I just did not take to chemistry at all. I didn't understand it. I didn't want to understand it, but whatever. So I got the F on my report card, and my dad picked me up from school that day. And I remember on the drive home, I told him that I got an F in chemistry. And his response was, well, you know, can't say we're not a little disappointed. But you know what happens. You know, just apply yourself a little bit better, do better next time. We expect better from you, but you know, it's okay. Nothing to get upset about. And then I said, "Do we have to tell Mom?" And he goes, "Oh yes, we have to tell Mom." I got home, and like I asked if my dad would tell her for me, and he said, "No. You have to tell me."
Wow.
And I knew the wrath.
No, given what you've shared about your mom already, I'm not surprised that you were
Now,
so
my mom is
scared of
not the
that.
same person that she used to be. She's been through therapy. She takes the medications that she needs to now, and I'm not going to say she's well adjusted, but she's so much better than she ever used to be, and she's calm. She's chill. She never used to be chill, but my mom is chill now.
And there's a good advocacy for the benefits of therapy. There
Sharad,
you go.
I was going to ask you earlier. You had mentioned that your parents hounded on you, and now you understand, like, it was for your own benefit, but at the time it sucked. And I believe that the words that you used were that your parents just wanted the best for you. And I think, correct me if I'm misspeaking here, but I feel like there is what our parents want. There's what our parents think is what's best for us, and then there's what we think is what's best for us. And sometimes what we think is what's best for us is just, food.
Oh yeah.
But sometimes, like, what we want is completely different from what our parents want for us. And both options are okay. Both options are good, but there are those social pressures that, we get pigeonholed into.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, though, I think is a lot of things. There's usually a marriage of the two that usually is the perfect way to go about it. Because obviously our parents, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but usually your parents will just let the child kind of dictate what they want to do as long as they're successful at it. Do you know what I mean? So
Depends on the parents.
yeah. So,
From my experience, right? Like I was pretty good in school up until I started getting bored with it, and I developed my severe special interest in comedy in 11th grade or year 11. And
Severe special interest.
severe
I like
special
that.
interest. Well, special interest is, have I talked about this on the stream before? Special interest is the politically correct term for obsession.
Ah,
For when you're autistic. So it's the interest that we become obsessed with. So I got really, really invested in comedy in about year 11. That was when I had access to the internet. So I finally was finding community of people online who are interested in the same stuff as me. And diving into comedy meant that I was putting my studies kind of on the wayside, focusing more on my special interest. And my mom had this idea, like I'd always wanted to be an actor, right? But I was terrified of wanting to, or feeling like because I was socially awkward. I didn't have like those kind of interactions with people. Undiagnosed autistic as a kid. And so then, I started doing stand up in year 12 when I was 16 years old. And my parents supported me by taking me to them. But I did have the severe expectation that I should be going to university right out of high school. I needed to be studying something sciencey, and so like all the subjects that I took in year 11 and 12 were like the hardest subjects that would give me the most flexibility of options of things that I could study in university. So yeah, I just felt all of that pressure. I was like, can you just support me doing this other thing that I really enjoy? Yeah.
that's what I wanted. My parents, nope. In fact, here's a fun little tiddlywink for you. We all know Star Search, right?
remind me.
So Star Search, this is Athena, by the way.
Hi, kitty.
So Star Search was it was kind of like a talent scout agency that would come through small towns in America in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. I think it fizzled out in the late 90s, early 2000s. But there was a television show called Star Search, and it was basically the precursor to America's Got Talent, right? Um, so they would go to all these different hometowns and have like these cattle calls, basically, and everyone would come. And this particular version of Star Search was they were looking for models and actors. And of course, I'm not a model. I had no interest in modeling. Not for me. No thanks. They take themselves way too seriously. But I was interested in the actor portion of it. Right. I don't even remember how I heard about this. So it was at this hotel in Franklin, Pennsylvania, and there was, I don't know, like 200 kids that came to this thing. Maybe not quite that many, but there was a lot, maybe close to 200. I don't know. So there's all these kids and all their parents in this room, and everyone was assigned like a different number. And so my number was called. And when your number was called, you had to get up on the catwalk. It was like like a T. I can't do this backwards camera thing. This is screwing me up. So it was like this big T thing, right? And so all the kids were like lined up over here or lined up over here. And so what you had to do was start from here, walk down the runway, and then like kind of walk down this way, and then exit off stage off the other side. And so that was your audition. And so all the 200 kids got to walk the runway, and I was one of like 8 kids that got called back to like stay here while everybody else leaves. And they were like, all right, We want to see you guys come back. We're going to be back here in 2 weeks, or like I don't know. It was a period of time, like tomorrow or the next day or something like that. It was a very short period of time. We want you to come back, and we're going to have our producers come and take a look at you guys, and we will kind of figure out what to do with you from there. But we see something in you. And before we ever went to this place, my mom, on the drive, she said, "Fine, I will take you, but nothing will come of this." And I said, "That's fine, that's fine, that's fine. I just want to go. I just want to go." And then somebody saw something in me, and when I told my mom how excited I was, and I got to call back, and they want me to come back tomorrow, or whenever the day was, she said, "I told you that nothing would come from this. I let you come here and strut your stuff and do whatever it is you wanted to do, but I told you nothing will come of this." And I was devastated.
So did she not take you to the callback? Oh my God, I would have been pissed. Oh my God.
Devastated. I wasn't angry. I was so sad because in my rational brain was, well, in all fairness, she did tell me that we weren't going to go back. But yeah, I was crushed. I was crushed.
Wow. No,
Next question.
The category Sharad asked for.
Woohoo!
And now, that I've had a little bit of modicum of success in comedy, my parents are like, when my dad was alive, "Oh, wow, you're so talented." Thanks for seeing it now.
Yeah, you could have supported it from a much younger age.
Saved a lot of money, guys.
All right, so Sharad's category that he picked was if you could.
Yeah.
So, if you could solve one world problem, what would it be? I'm going to add a caveat to that.
Okay.
If you could solve one world problem, what would it be? So I think we would all say world peace, right? So I think the problem with saying world peace is that world peace is going to happen for like a year, and then everyone reverts back to their former selves. So knowing that things, what is one world problem that you could solve that would have a lasting effect?
Homelessness. I think. Put everyone in houses. Let them have their own private spaces.
Okay, so if you say like I can fix any problem, this presumably means I have all the technology and finances at my disposal.
Yes.
All right. Well, I mean, the obvious one I think would to kind of create a system that would eliminate world hunger. Where everyone was, we put a lot of stock into self-sustaining farms, educate people as to how they can grow their own crops, rear their own animals, etc., while educating them about pros and cons of what they eat. So it's a combination of both, yeah. So probably a mixture between education and allowing people to be self-sustainable. So I mean, not just people in farms or rural areas, but just people in general. So people obviously still have to go and buy certain things and what have you, but everyone should be in a position where they can grow something themselves. So that'd be pretty cool.
Dominica?
I said homelessness. World hunger was the first thing that I thought of, but then I thought, you can have food, but I think shelter is more of a higher necessity in some cases.
It's really interesting you mentioned that, because I was watching this thing a while back. I can't remember off the top of my head, where people are 3D printing all these mobile homes for the homeless, and they look incredible. I mean, obviously, I haven't seen them in person, so I can't tell how strong and dexterous they are, but they look incredible.
One of my son's high school, his the ninth grade, like I think it's the physics class, they build tiny homes for homeless people as part of their year-long project. So that's one of the things that my son is doing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that.
Cool. That's awesome.
I would have loved to have gotten involved in something like that as a kid.
Yeah, his school is very much on, social justice issues and things that can help the community and giving back to the community and stuff.
That's awesome. All right, cool.
I think for me, this is how, what am I trying to say? It's based on how I view the world. Like, what are some problems that I see as opposed to problems that we all see?
Mm-hmm.
I think capitalism is good, but it's not great. It's not perfect. It's not a perfect system. I think capitalism is good because it creates innovation through competition. And it also, the competition helps to kind of keep costs lower than what they ultimately could be. I think what I would do is create kind of like a certain socialist caps on capitalism, like a socialistic capitalistic society kind of a thing.
So we don't have billionaires like Elon Musk.
Yeah.
No, I feel
I don't even in principle, I don't even have a problem with individuals having trillions of dollars. So if you want to if there's an Elon Musk that has, $5 trillion, I guess go for it.
But don't use it for evil deeds.
Well, but I think more so where I'm coming from is corporations. Like, we all love Apple, right? I got an iPhone. I've got an Apple computer that I'm talking on. I use my Apple EarPods. Like, I love the Apple products. But Apple has, I think, now correct me if I'm wrong, I believe Apple has $3 or $4 trillion cash in the bank right now.
That's
disposable income, cash, not just assets. They've got all of their assets.
That's nuts.
They have like $3 or $4 trillion in cash on hand.
Because corporations are not taxed as much as they should be, and people or in corporations dodge their taxes by their special tricks.
And I understand, like, businesses need to have X amount of money in the bank to protect their assets, to protect their value, blah, 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 blah. There's something about $4 trillion in cash on hand that seems like...
Yeah, you're blowing my mind right now. I had no idea.
Disney doesn't even have that much. In fact, when Disney... True story, fun fact. When Disney bought Lucasfilm for $4 billion, they didn't have the cash on hand. They didn't have the cash. So they had to, I think they had to, I don't know if it's possible to claim Chapter 11 for certain entities of your assets, but like whatever it is that they did, they had to convert their assets into cash so that they could, and also stock options, so that they could buy Lucasfilm from George Lucas. So
meanwhile, Elon Musk borrows $44 billion to buy Twitter.
Yeah. I don't know. Like,
I don't know.
I don't know. Like, I don't know how much Elon Musk has in the bank. I don't know how much Who's the other super rich dude?
Bill Gates
Bill
Amazon
Gates. I
guy.
don't know how much he has.
and Jeff Bezos as well.
And Jeff Bezos is another one. You know, let's just cap it at $1 billion. That seems like a nice round number, right? When inflation comes, we'll take care of that later. But like $1 billion seems like a good round number for an individual to have.
Then pay your employees better, so then all of that money gets distributed around, and we'll have a better system.
I just find it very strange because I mean, obviously, you have some of them, like let's say Bill Gates, for an example. He's an incredible philanthropist. He shares a lot and he gifts a lot, which is fantastic. Where else you have people like Musk, who's like trying to. It's strange. He markets it like, okay, I'm going to develop SpaceX to help lead us into humanity, into the next generation. But it's just very, very strange the way he goes about it. I'm like, dude, like, let's be honest. You're not doing this for some altruistic kind of reason to set the species forward. You're just doing it just to be a dick and compete with NASA just because you can. And correct me if I'm wrong, you two. Like, ever since he's purchased Twitter. Hasn't Twitter like lost millions and millions?
Billions. It's lost billions now.
Oh,
yeah.
So, and they've laid off not quite half of their workforce, but maybe like a third.
They weren't paying their rent in their place in downtown San Francisco. I think they've gotten rid of the building now. Like they're not even in the building anymore now. I haven't been down to that part of San Francisco recently, so I haven't seen like if the Twitter sign is still there. But like I was probably not, right? Because it changed to X anyway.
Yeah, I find it really strange because like the fact is Musk purchased it for well above market value, and he's got all these access resources, and the first thing he does is he trims the people required to fill those roles. So I don't understand. It's like he'd be much better off, if anything, if he wanted to create something new, like what Trump did with what's his face, Truth Social, right? I mean, if he wanted to do some of that, presumably he'd have a lot more.
But Elon liked the platform, and he just wanted more attention on that platform. Like that's all it was. He didn't want to start something new.
But it's stuff like it's really strange because like the more and more I see of him in interviews or in live broadcasts, the more and more I hate to say that I dislike him because I don't know him as a person, but there's just something very, very off about him, and I'm just like, this person's just there's something.
Well, he's a bully.
Again, another person that probably needs to be in therapy, but is causing other people to need therapy instead.
Yeah. And doesn't he have like X amount of kids, and he names them like XYZ or
no? He has Twitter amount of kids.
Nice. But I don't know. He's just a very strange cat.
Yeah, when he
don't speak about cats that way.
So when he came out and he hosted Saturday Night Live a number of years back, right? And he was like, "I'm the first person with Asperger's to host this." It's like, no, you're a fucking nut, because there was Dan Aykroyd. But
Dan Aykroyd is Asperger's.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but anyway, it's like when he came up and talked about having Asperger's, which as we've established is autism, because we don't use the Asperger's label anymore because of Nazis.
Hang on, what?
What was that?
The Asperger name comes from a Nazi who was studying autism during Nazi Germany time.
So his name was Asperger's, or
that was his last name, yeah. Yeah. So that's why we don't use that label anymore. FYI. Now you learn something new. Yeah. But anyway, so as I was saying, when he was talking about, having this, having Asperger's, I was like, immediately, I really hope that the takeaway that people have is not that people who are autistic are like Elon Musk, because most of us are not like him. Like, he gives us a bad name. Like, that's how I kind of feel about it.
It's
Sorry.
tricky because there seems to be like a duality of that when people think, oh, everyone's like Rain Man, or like, you know what I mean? Like, if you have,
Yeah.
even though, let's say, socially you don't have that connection, but in your mind you're like this genius. So yeah.
I'm still stuck on the whole Dan Aykroyd thing. So I did a little Google search.
Am I
Yes,
wrong?
Dan Aykroyd was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome in the 1980s. Early signs. Aykroyd showed signs of autism as a child, including being expelled from 2 schools. He was also diagnosed with Tourette syndrome at age 12. What?
Oh, you just triggered the cat.
Mhm.
Oh, they're fighting. Both cats are fighting right now.
Uh-oh.
I was like, what just happened?
You've got Asperger's, not you have Asperger's.
Diagnosis. Aykroyd's wife, Donna, encouraged him to see a doctor, which led to his diagnosis. Experience. Aykroyd has been open about his experiences with autism and how they influenced his work. Bullet point 1. He has said that Asperger's helped him create some of his on-screen characters. Bullet point 2. He has linked autism to creativity. Interesting. Bullet point 3. He has said that his experiences on the autism spectrum contributed to his character in Ghostbusters. Interesting. Asperger's syndrome is now considered part of autism spectrum disorder. It can make social interactions difficult and can lead to repetitive behaviors and strong interests in specific subjects. Fascinating.
Interesting.
I think my first exposure to seeing a character in media that was labeled Asperger's was this character in Boston. Was it Boston League? The one with
Boston,
with James Spader and what's his name? Who's anti-autistic? The guy from Star Trek. William Shatner. There was a character in that series who had Asperger's, and he was one of his traits was, you know, flapping his arms and when he was excited, and was otherwise very stiff most of the time. So that was kind of my first encounter with a portrayal of an autistic character in media.
Mhm.
I had not seen Rain Man yet. I have now, but I hadn't yet.
You know, very recently, I just started watching, and just as of a few days ago, finished watching Community from start to finish.
Oh, I love Community. It's so
I'd
good.
seen episodes here and there, but I'd never watched the entire series. So I sat down and watched the entire series. Season 6, anyway. But in that same vein, I found it so fascinating that it's so clearly obvious that the character Abed is autistic.
Yeah.
But they never label it. They never call it
There's
out.
so many autistic characters in stuff that are like that. Like, I recently binged Death Note with my daughter, and immediately the character L in that, who's also known as Ryazaki, I'm just like, he's autistic. Like, I'm just like, I love this character. And I was like, and you know, people say, oh, you can't tell if someone's autistic by looking at them. It's like, but if you're autistic and if you know the science, yes, you can. So, you know, there's definitely things. And so, the character of Holt in Brooklyn Nine-Nine, totally autistic. Like, anytime I just recognize a character like through their traits, I'm just like, oh my god, I love to connect with these characters. It would be awesome if they did label them more, because so many of these interesting characters come across as autistic, but they never label them, and they just like, they want to have these quirky characters without the label. I'm just like, I think that there would be more acceptance, I think, for autistic people in the community if they did label the characters in the media as that.
Do you think at the same time, if they did that, it might alienate others?
In what way?
I don't know. I mean, like just off the top of my head, if let's say Abed, you mentioned Abed, right? If let's just say he was just socially quirky, but he wasn't autistic. Do you think if we had him as labeled as autistic, do you think at the same time other people might just be, well, I can't relate to this guy anymore? Does that no?
There's to that end, I do think that there's a certain phenomena where, and I'll use little people as an example. There's a certain amount of people in the little people community that are very much opposed to little people in film and television being portrayed as elves, dwarves,
Oh yeah,
stuff like that. But the
Peter
other
Dinklage.
side of that coin is that if they if if they don't use little people to fill some of these roles, and now you have to like digitally resize average people, then now you're taking work away from that community. So so some of that outrage, because I know there was
The Snow White thing.
uh I am unfamiliar with that. You mean the new movie?
The Disney movie is coming out with what's her face, Rachel Ziegler. And Gal Gadot.
Ziegler, yeah.
Yeah, like
Um,
Dinklage was not on about that at all.
he what?
He just thought it was bullshit. I mean, like I don't know whether you guys
Oh, yeah.
first saw the behind the scenes where they had whatchamacallit, they weren't little people anymore. They were called magical creatures.
Mm.
That was which I mean for me it's fine, but then obviously Dinklage made a huge stink about it. Where then they released pictures where they just looked like just normal magical creatures. But then when they released the trailer, that they were dwarves, but they were animated dwarves, and so
Right.
that brought up another thing where like there's so many little people actors, not just in Hollywood but throughout the world, and how hard it is for them to get jobs. And right here, this is perfect for them. There's literally a story about them, and you couldn't even get that right. So
Yeah.
it's tricky.
So I bring that whole example up as kind of a case study of if we did start labeling some of these autistic characters in film and in television with autism, do you think that there would be a faction of the autistic community that would push back on it and say, well, why do you have to call it out? Why can't you just normalize it and let people
No,
be-"
because I mean, maybe, but I think for the most part, we want to have more representation, and we also want to be have the opportunity to play autistic characters as well, right?
Mhm.
Because you know, when you've got like it's Dustin Hoffman, right, who plays Rain Man.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's not like that, you know. So often you have these characters that are labeled autistic that are not played by autistic people, and then the representation is not as accurate as what it could be if it was an autistic person playing that character. So a similar vein with what you were talking about earlier, like having opportunities for people of that community to play people from that community it's great. So I wish there was more of that kind of experience, you know.
Yeah, I think that representation is super important, but it's tricky because I always hear this old adage that actors act. It's their job to act, and obviously, and so it's tricky because like if for example, they had this huge thing blow up with what you call it, Crazy Rich Asians, and Black Panther. That became a huge success because like people weren't seeing these type of people on the screen. So I don't know, but at the same time, again, there has to be a duality. I know we've been talking about this quite a bit, but there has to be a duality of things. Like, for example, I don't know if either of you two saw, there was this Star Wars, horrible Star Wars show called The Acolyte. I don't know whether you heard of it or you watched it.
Heard of it, did not watch it.
It's very popular in the circles that I run in.
Right. Okay. Well, I mean, just from my feedback. And you know, I don't mean to disparage anyone, but fuck me, man, that was hard to get through.
I heard
And
it was bad.
It was bad because it literally was. I understand that from a writing's perspective, it's your job to communicate what you want to get through the page onto the screen. So whether you want to educate someone or to share something, but the thing is, though, you're not meant to beat someone over the head with it.
Mm.
You know? So, and when I was watching the Acolyte, I mean, like for example, like just to link it to Black Panther. Black Panther was this celebration of this amazing culture and its and how it could stand apart from the world and be strong, but at the same time lead it into a new generation by contributing. So it's a very good feel good kind of story. Whereas with the Acolyte, I got this feeling where the showrunners were just like using it to kind of vent and to kind of like just be like, oh, my life is so bad, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, what are you doing, bro? Like, what are you doing?
Wait. So, I clearly have no idea what this series is about.
Well, surprise, surprise, it wasn't renewed for season 2. But if you get a moment and you put it this way, it's a show that it's so bad is good in my opinion, but at the same time, it does get quite kind of grating. Like the special effects, the fight scene choreography is absolutely spectacular. The wardrobe looks great. So on a technical level, it's fantastic. I've got nothing to say about that. But if you're feeling kind of in that mood for something like you just want to go, I mean, just check them out. There's plenty of videos on YouTube alone. Like,
so I don't have to watch the actual series. I can just watch people talking about it. Okay. I was gonna say I just started watching Ahsoka last night. After learning that Hayden Christensen was in it, after getting a photo with Hayden Christensen 2 weekends ago. I was like, oh, I didn't realize it was in it, so I guess I need to watch it. But yeah, I don't watch a lot of those Star Wars series.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, I haven't watched them per se. I don't have a Disney Plus account, but I mean, there's hundreds, if not thousands, of videos on YouTube analyzing each episode and giving their own take, whether it's comedic or straightforward, and it's mind blowing. So if you do get a chance, you're up for a laugh, like go watch it. Oh, well, watch the videos dissecting
it from the actual show. Yeah. I was also going to bring up going back to the autistic representation aspect. So you may not be aware of this, but this was a big deal in the autistic community a number of years ago. The singer Sia created a film called Music, and it cast somebody who is not autistic, and the uproar from the autistic community about this was phenomenally huge, and they were very angry with that decision. I think she since came out as like discovering that she is also autistic herself, Sia, and I don't know how that has kind of been received by the community. I think the initial response was like, you're just using that as an excuse, or like whatever. That doesn't allow us to forgive you for this other stuff that you did. But like so many people, as we've established, so many women in particular are late diagnosed and don't realize. So it's possible that she was creating this film to kind of do some self-discovery for herself. I have no idea. Like I've not dived too deeply into it. As soon as the autistic community were like really mad at her, I was like, I'm gonna step away and not follow any of that. I was like, I don't want to get involved.
Yeah, it's tricky. Well, at the same time, it's tough because as a society, I think we've become overtly sensitive, and now that we have this amazing platform, this zeitgeist where we can all interconnect with each other. Everyone's got an opinion, and anyone can go viral at any minute for saying anything. So I don't know. It's very, very tricky. But there was this. I've forgotten the name of this. This is a French film that came out a while back that got a remake about a man confined to a wheelchair, and he had this this white man to a wheelchair, and he had this African American kind of assistant, and they formed this amazing friendship and everything. But they had this huge uproar because the man who the actor who played the man in the wheelchair wasn't a paraplegic, and I'm just like,
Walter White.
Yeah, and it's another one.
Bryan Cranston.
Bryan Cranston, yeah.
Kevin
And like
Hart.
Yeah, and like the original French version as well. And I just remember thinking, well, isn't that what actors do? They act, don't they? But I don't know. It's just it's weird.
There's multiple components. Oh, sorry, no, go ahead.
So I was gonna say this is another situation where it's like there are so few roles that are written specifically for disabled characters that at least try and find one that can fit into that role before trying to cast someone else.
That's one way of looking at it, right? That's one way of looking at it. The other way of looking at it is if you don't have a star in that film, no one's going to go see it. So what? And I'm not going to say what's the point in making it if no one's going to go see it. But from a business perspective,
you need that.
You have to. So like there was the whole thing with one of the films that really kind of kicked off this discussion in a big way was Ghost in the Shell. With Scarlett Johansson, right?
I still have not seen the live action film because I love the anime series so much. I'm just like I can't. I cannot imagine.
Who doesn't watch anime? I enjoyed the film for what it was. It was fine, but yeah, it begged the question. At that time, that came out what 2011, 2012, something like that.
I don't remember.
There weren't that many big name Asian actors, female Asian actors. So if that was who you were building the rest of your cast around, Scarlett Johansson is a bankable name, or at least at the time, I would even still say now, is a bankable name. So from a business perspective, that was a great decision. But also from a social perspective, what the fuck are we doing, guys? And it's hard because you kind of get caught in that trap of, is this a story that is so important that needs to be seen? And that's why for like a lot of older films, like Brokeback Mountain, not that
I think for something like Ghost in the Shell, though, which in itself, you can sell the film based on the title alone.
Disagree. Ghost in the Shell. So we all live in our own echo chambers, right? Everyone that we surround ourselves with, for the most part, we all share the same perspective. And so when I say blah, blah, blah to somebody else, they agree with me because we all share the same perspective. So when we say Ghost in the Shell, very small population of planet Earth knows what that is.
Clearly, I'm very biased about my things that I consume. But like, I obviously socialize with a lot of people who know anime. I guess I didn't watch Death Note until just recently. I knew about it back when it came out back in 2006, right? I did not watch it until this year. And so clearly that's I'm just aware of these things. Like, that's very famous to me because I've heard of it, but I guess I was running with the social circles of people who talked about anime.
It's a hell of a show. It's incredible.
Oh,
it's
I love
true.
it.
Like, this may shock you, I'm a huge comic book nerd, and it blows my mind that there are people, when you say the Avengers, even in 2024, you say the Avengers and people are like,
who?
What?
There are still people who don't know, DC from Marvel. So you'll name a character and be like, I don't know which one that belongs to.
Wait, didn't Superman fight Iron Man? Wasn't that a thing? No, it wasn't.
Yeah. So fair point. But I guess for me, with something like Ghost in the Shell, for example, who is going to want to watch that if they're not already an anime fan, though? Like,
Well,
who
I mean,
who
that's
is the target audience for that movie?
15 to 30-year-old, 15 to 35-year-old men and women who, I don't know what other demographic, like more of like a nerdy demographic type, or people that's basically 15 to 35. But yeah,
No.
even then, you can't just bank on the name alone. You have to have a good story. Because how many times have we seen like, oh my gosh, this thing is coming out, it's gonna be so good, and it
It's always
sucks
out. I know.
so bad.
Just kind of going on that. I remember this is a few years ago. I was at an animation studio, like where this producer who I trained under at Astra, she was working there at the time. And I remember, like, just before I left, she was like, oh my God, by the way, have you heard what just came out like this morning? I'm like, what? Oh, on YouTube, the Avatar live action movie, just the trailer just came out. And she was so excited. And I don't know if you two have seen the animated show, but I love the animated show. I think it's one of the best animations, I think, in history. It's fantastic. And I remember she was so excited about the movie coming out, and she watched it, and she got back to me, and I was like, so give me one word. And she was just like, horror.
It's
Mm.
not
And
good.
and later on when I watched it, I was like, fucking hell. I mean, the fact that anything that could go wrong did go wrong. And you could say representation matters, but then if you flip that, obviously it went full tilt the other direction. Like, for example, the Fire Nation were all Southeast Asian Indians, and they were all evil. And you have the Airbender tribe, who is like what were they? They were nomads, and yet the Avatar is a white kid. Okay, so it's very, very strange.
This we're going off topic with the let's get vulnerable thing, but I have things to say. I did not watch Avatar: The Last Airbender until the pandemic, when I had a lot of time to binge watch stuff. I was like, oh, it's on Netflix, I can finally sit down and watch it. I binged watched it with my daughter. Then we binged Legend of Korra, and then after I bought my daughter a plush Appa for her birthday, I think, after we'd watched it, my son was like in awe of Appa, and so then we binge watched it again. Nice. With all of us as a family. So I've watched it both twice in like 2 years back to back.
So good. It's so good.
And so now I'm curious, Sharad, have you watched the Netflix live action series?
I have not. I've seen a few short clips here and there. Some which I was really, really impressed with. There was a scene where Iroh is singing a song, and that one got me. But then there are other times when I was watching it, like, again, just short clips, and I was like, okay, right.
There, a lot of it is very good. There are some parts that I'm just like I got to the point of like, you're pulling this thing from like season 2 or season 3 into season 1. I'm like, why are you blending this together? Like that sort of thing. I get really upset about the chronology aspect.
It's essentially just like a Frankenstein monster. And mind you, it was worse when they did the movie, because they were like trying to cram 3 seasons worth into an hour and a half. And
oh my God, that can't.
It was awful. I remember watching it and just going, I can actually feel myself getting dumber, like looking at this. And I remember thinking, the poor men and women at Nickelodeon who made this happen, the original source material, they must be like, thank you for the money, but they must be so disappointed.
Yeah.
And
tying this back to what we were talking about earlier, Zuko is another character that I identify as autistic, and he is my And he's my favorite character in the series as well. I'm always just in awe of, like I said, like I fall in love with the characters that are very clearly autistic.
Well, like Zuko's got the ultimate arc, doesn't he?
He's got the best arc. Yeah.
He's the best one, yeah.
Yes. I'm suspecting that Mike has not watched Avatar, or you wanted to watch the movie. Let's go back to the questions. Wait. My dad
No,
did.
I have not.
My dad did drop a comment earlier. We kept talking. So he said, yeah, autistics are like X-Men stories, storylines about people not fitting in, but have misunderstood gifts. Yeah, there's a lot of different ostracized groups that identify with the X-Men for that reason. The LGBT community is another one that feels very connected to that storyline as well. So
yeah, I mean, it's not just them. You have immigrants, the disabled. Mm-hmm. Everyone fits, like they can identify somewhere with them, and it's an incredible story.
So I don't fall into any of those categories, yet the X-Men have always been my favorite superhero team ever. People always ask me, Mike, what's your favorite you're into comics, what's your favorite superhero? I can't answer that question, but I can answer what is my favorite superhero group, which is the X-Men, because I, as a self-identified weird kid growing up, I never fit into any of those social circles, or at least I never felt like I did. And the X-Men was my safe haven to be like, oh, people don't like you? Well, guess what? People don't like me either.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a favorite X-Men?
It's just, that's very similar to do you have a favorite superhero question?
Oh, you did say
I identify with, I would say in the past few years, fairly recently, have I only really, really, really started identifying with Wolverine in like a really profound way. What I love about Wolverine is that he's the reluctant hero. This is what we kind of talked about this last week, right?
Yeah,
we did. Yeah,
I love him for that.
He never asks for any of it, but always just comes on his lap, and
yeah. Gambit has always been a fan favorite of mine. In the past few years, I've also had a connection with Cyclops. I think Rogue's story is incredibly tragic,
very tragic. Yeah.
I think Cannonball I've always kind of identified with a little bit. I loved his superpower, and I always thought he was just a really cool character.
He was from Generation X?
New Mutants.
Oh, New Mutants.
New Mutants, yeah.
He may have made an appearance in Generation X, but wait, that was the television show in the late 90s, wasn't it?
I'm talking about the comic series that Jubilee was part of, Husk, and who else was in it?
Morph?
No.
Morph
was not in the comics. He was created for the animated series.
Right. Okay.
Which I think they have
the guy that has like wears a big coat and like has no mouth. So it's like takes his. Do you know who I'm talking about? Oh, I have a whole bunch of Generation X comics.
I always liked Cable.
Cable's badass.
I thought it was really interesting. So, like, Cable and Strife are twin brothers, right? Mm-hmm. There was something about Strife. I loved that dynamic of like good versus evil, but we are the same, but we're not the same. Like they were raised in identical circumstances. They have the same parents. They have the same upbringing, but they both made very different choices in their life. I just thought that was really, really interesting.
All right, Dominica, just to hopefully this will trigger something. Okay, so we have Banshee, White Queen, Skin, Cinch, M, Husk, Jubilee, Chamber.
Yeah, that's the one I was thinking of. I didn't know White Queen was in Generation X.
Was Spike in there in that lineup as well?
Yeah, that's the one I was talking about. There you
Spike, no, there's no Spike.
I always liked Spike. I thought Spike was really cool.
No.
What is a cool superpower?
What's whose?
spike, so he manifests just wooden spikes out of his skin.
Wasn't he in X-Men: The Last Stand, where he was that guy who kind of like...
Unfortunately,
That was not the best
multiple
X.
man.
Multiple man.
Oh, yeah, he was good. Yeah.
Oh shoot, what's his name? Jamie. I can't think of his last name. Multiple man. I always thought multiple man.
Madrox?
Madrox.
Jamie Madrox, right? Yeah.
Jamie Madrox, yeah. I always thought that he was a really, really cool character. Such an asshole. Such a prick. But like,
wouldn't you be if you could multiply yourself? I'd be the same.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Kitty Pryde is always she's always been a huge favorite of mine. In fact, where do we have Kitty Pryde? Right here.
Big question about Kitty. I mean, like for me, like the thing that stands out about her to me are her abilities, not about her personality. Was she quite outgoing in the comics?
I think a lot of teenage boys were attracted to her. Going by like the fact my brother was a huge fan of hers, but I think it was her looks.
You can take me to my bedroom anytime, baby.
I never thought that she was drawn very well in the early comics. Once you started getting like late 80s, early 90s, like in the Jim Lee era, like, yeah, totally cool. But she never had like she was a central figure in the Days of Future Past comic.
Yeah.
While that's a great story,
yeah.
The way she was drawn in that story, I can still see it in my mind. I'm just beside myself. Like she just has like this kind of look on her face. And I hated it. I did not like the way that she was drawn.
That's funny.
But her personality's cool. In fact, first cosplay my wife ever did. Hold on, I gotta look this up. I took her to Comic-Con, and let's see. Nope, not there. San Diego Comic-Con. Where are my favorites at? I hate the new updates for the photos because I don't know where my favorites are anymore. Albums. Where are my favorites? Show me my favorites. They're my favorites, so they should come up first,
should
right?
Make it easy, right?
Hold on. Now I have to search for it. FAVORITES. Search.
Which Photos app are you using? Is it an Apple? Is that iPhoto?
Yeah.
Okay. I use Google Photos for mine because I have a Google Pixel phone, and it's been sending me like end of year kind of updates of things, and I got really pissed at it. I don't know, yesterday or the day before, that I ended up messaging a friend of mine about how pissed I was, and shared the clip that Google had made for me, because it was like, you took photos of 475 smiles this year, and who was the person that you smiled with the most? Your Malaysian ex. And I was like, fuck you. How is that the one that I've smiled with the most? We were together for 10 days in January, and that's it. Like, I'm pretty sure that I was with other people more this year. How is that possible?
Oh, that's a real kick. Ugh.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
So sometimes photo apps can be torturous.
Yeah.
Oh, this is really starting to kind of upset me in like a real visceral way.
Well, you can't find it.
I hate when apps update.
It has all of my other photo albums that I've created, but the favorites just isn't there.
Can you just like do a search for favorites or something?
I did, and it's not. It has like 10 photos from my favorites album, but it's like a highlight, and I tap on the photo, and it only lets me go through the highlighted.
Oh no, that sucks.
All right, I will deal with this later. This is
Shall we move on to another question?
No,
Or we
Dirty.
still want to talk about relatable X-Men? I always liked I liked Domino just because her name was so similar to mine.
She's the one that can influence luck, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
She doesn't influence
No,
luck. She just has luck.
she has luck. So luck just happens. So good things happen to her because she has luck as her power. Yeah.
Can you imagine that kind of power? That's amazing.
I know. Speaking of Domino, I never liked Deadpool until the movies came out.
I never read any Deadpool until the movies came out. So there's that. And then I started reading and was like, oh man, I love this. I have a lot of Deadpool comics now, but I read most of them from borrowing stuff from the library. I've read so much from borrowing stuff from the library. I keep singing its praises. Right now I'm singing its praises because I'm borrowing manga and got through 23 volumes of Demon Slayer manga because of the library, and now I've just borrowed some Death Note ones. So I love the library. Can read stuff for free, also watch movies, but borrow video games. I just requested another Demon Slayer video game.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to do a series of the Would You Rather cards.
Let's go for it.
Ooh, okay, let's do it.
So it should be not rapid fire, but I feel like we can get through a few of these.
All right.
Would you oh boy. Oh,
he says before looking at the question, and now he's freaking out.
Would you rather? Oh my.
This is a real tough one. Would you, and I think I in all honesty know the answer for me. Would you rather end the life of one human or 100 puppies and kittens?
Human.
Yeah, same.
Because presumably,
I hope we can choose.
Yeah, you can pick a human.
Oh, that's terrible.
Oh, that's tough.
Would you rather not have any arms or legs, and why?
I would rather not have legs because with arms, I can do stuff. Legs, I mean, to be fair, like after I fell sick, like I said, we didn't think I'd be able to walk again, and so I learned all these coping things and all these exercises you could try. But with your arms, just even imagine you wouldn't be able to feed yourself. You wouldn't be able to brush your hair, to write anything at all like that. So yeah, I'd rather
scratch my eyebrow, which I literally just did.
Yeah.
Thanks, hands.
Yeah.
Nothing else does what you can do.
Wait, you can't get your foot to reach your forehead? Like?
No.
Not today.
You used your hands.
Shit, okay.
See?
Fair enough.
Would you rather have a rewind or pause button on your life?
Rewind.
I'm going to go with pause. For me, it would be pause. Because there are certain moments that I want to live in. Like, I know that I'm in that moment, and I just want to extend it out.
It's pause. You're not able to do anything.
You can't do anything now.
Whereas if you have rewind, you can rewind to the beginning of that moment and
then
do it again.
Why do I want to do anything but live in that moment?
But if it's pause, you're not actually doing anything. It's just
pause,
stop.
you're staying still. Yeah.
I disagree. I disagree with your analysis. I get to play the game how I want to play it.
I'm on your side, Sharad. I think just because of my interpretation of the word pause, because I'm autistic and I take things literally, and pause is pause. Like if I'm pausing a DVD, I'm just like looking at it on the screen that there's nothing's happening. It's just that thing.
I mean, like my rationale behind it is if you can rewind things and then you can let them happen in real time. If you're pausing it, it's literally one moment in time. And you're stuck to that one moment in time. So let's say, for example, like the very first time you saw Santa Claus at the mall, right? For example,
Yeah.
you could rewind it to the beginning all the way up to the end, pausing, or you could pause just before you're about to see him for the first time. For me, I'd rather have that rewind so you can have experienced the entire roller coaster all over again.
All right,
So,
that's fair.
Yeah.
Next question, please.
I'm sorry, you do it again?
Next question, please.
I love it.
It sounds
would
like
you-
Marvin the Martian.
Would you rather win a Grammy or an Oscar?
Oscar.
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 Is that,
Yeah.
are we music people or acting
Yeah.
/ movie people? That's easy.
I don't know, because it's very difficult to think about, because obviously nowadays it's not just you performing. You have your editors, your sound designers, blah 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 blah. But I don't know. I just think that musically wise, it's such a different animal now compared to acting. Even though you have all these people helping you and what have you, it's 90. You know, it's strange.
You can get an Oscar for all kinds of things, like screenwriting, directing. It's not just
True.
the acting stuff,
True.
right? It's the
True.
special effects,
But you can-
soundtrack.
You can get the same for a Grammy, like scoring and like writing credits as well for Grammys, can't you?
Yeah, but it's still music based.
True.
Comedians, stand-up comedians who put out albums,
But
they
they
nominated
can get
for
Grammys too. Yeah, that's
Really?
true. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
because it's an album.
Mhm.
Actually, since we're on the subject, do comedians, stand up or otherwise, do they have their own yearly kind of awards? That's like the prestigious thing for comedians.
I don't
Really?
think so.
Well, that's a shame.
Not that I know of.
Mm.
So in at the People's Improv Theater, I had I still have a running show called Fury, Earth's Mightiest Improv.
Nice.
I've changed the title of it tentatively. I don't know. I don't really know what's going on with the show anymore, but another story for another day. At the end of every year that I was at the pit, we would hold the Fury Awards. In fact, no, I don't have one here. It's basically like the Dundies, like from The Office.
Nice.
So here's an actual Dundie that we got in Scranton, Pennsylvania. But like the actual award was maybe like that. The Fury Award was like that tall, little plastic thing. But yeah, like we would do an award show for, improvisers and teams who were everyone who played in Fury throughout that year. But
That's cool, man.
But I don't really know.
Smaller scale, not on TV production.
Not yet.
Tony's level of something for comedy.
Would you rather date someone you love or date someone who loves you?
Ooh.
Oh God. Oh. So there's one or the other. Ooh.
Opt out of both.
But if you had to pick one,
yeah, you can only pick one.
Ugh.
Oh, that's tough.
I would choose to date someone that I love.
Yeah.
As opposed to, because if someone loves you, that means you have the upper hand and you have control. And usually if you don't love that person at the same level that they love you, then you want to leave. So what motivation do you have to stick around?
Yeah, but so most of my relationships, I feel like, have been I love the other person and they have not felt as strongly towards me, and that's its own level of heartbreak.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's why I'm like, that's the main reason that I'm like, how do I actually feel about this?
That's an evil question to ask.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the power imbalance is just ginormous. I don't think that anyone would rather be in that position where you love someone, they don't love you back. So yeah, it's tough.
Would you rather always have gas or always have bad breath?
Can I use the American term of gas for my car? That would be awesome. I'd always have gas. Wait, what? So what was the other one? Like
Would you rather
Bad
fart
breath.
or have bad breath?
bad breath. Oh,
Fart, because I
Probably.
already do.
yeah. Right, mhm.
Well, that's the thing. Okay, so bad breath, you can take breath mints, whatever you want.
It doesn't matter. I feel like the
But
spirit of the question is that no matter what you
What
do,
you always have.
halitosis is always going to be
Oh
there.
yeah, of
Yeah.
course. Yeah.
Yeah. Would you rather stink from your mouth or stink from your ass?
I'd probably go with the arse thing because obviously mouth, you're conversing with people, and I don't think that's
Yeah.
gonna be pleasant. And to be farts are funny, dude.
But you know, like
Funny.
when I socialize, most of the time I'm still wearing a face mask when I go out in public. So maybe the bad
Oh,
so bad.
All right.
No, I'm probably still pick the funny one.
Worst comes to worst, it's a hilarious party trick. Like, oh, great, Mike's here. I can tell.
Because
Can you see him? No, I can tell. I can tell he's here.
Because if you have bad breath, like, you know, no one would want to kiss you. Like, even if you're wearing a mask there to converse with people, they wouldn't want to kiss you, right? It's just like, oh, I can't.
I'll wear a face mask on my butt.
There you go.
There you go. Chastity
rather-
belts. Probably
Would-
stronger.
Would you rather watch a movie at home or at the movie theater? What?
Depends.
Some
Movie
people
theater.
prefer to be isolated and not be around a lot of people.
Well, I mean, like that became a huge thing, especially during COVID, wasn't it? We all like thankfully our Netflixes, Apple TVs, Amazon, that really kind of shut up. But it really depends because let's say like one thing I really appreciate. This is when I was still in America. My friends and I, we'd always get together at each other's houses whenever Game of Thrones would come on.
Mhm.
We'd go straight to a couple of houses, and that turned into a huge thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, where else now everything's all out at once in one gigantic thing. So it depends. And obviously at the cinema, whenever we had at the time the latest Marvel film, everyone was like, "Fuck yeah, we have to go see that." So it really depends. It really depends on who you're with that makes or breaks it.
Mm-hmm.
And what the product is.
What
too.
the movie is. Yeah, there are some movies that I think are better suited for the small screen at home, and some that are like you need to see them in the theater.
Yeah.
At that point, the pandemic was a particular low point for cinema, and we're all like, "Well, yeah, duh, of course."
Yeah.
But the stuff that was coming out they were the things that were being released, whether they were on streaming or whether they were like, "All right, well, we have to put something in the theater." They were all lower budget art house films that weren't always good. And that was the stuff that we were getting because all the stuff that was good, Hollywood was hanging on to it because they needed to. They needed to make money from it. Like there was this one movie that came out called Arkansas. And I was like, oh, the trailer looks awesome. Has Christopher Walken in it. Has Dodgeball. What's his face?
Vince Vaughn.
Vince Vaughn was in it. Had a few other like smaller name actors, and the trailer looked really, really good. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna rent this. So I rented it. I paid my $6 and sat down and I watched it. It was so unforgivably terrible. It was really bad. And so like they just weren't releasing anything that was good because they couldn't afford to.
Ooh, it's got a 51% on Rotten Tomatoes. That's not
That's better than like 32%. There are some movies that are that bad.
It was such a slog. It was such a slog to get through.
Next question.
Would you rather never read another book or never watch another movie?
Read a book.
Book.
Never read a book. Yeah.
Book.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Would you rather die before your partner or after? Kim and I have actually had this conversation, and she has decided for me that I am not allowed to die before her.
I mean, given that I don't currently have a partner, so I feel like my answer might depend on who my partner was. Like, what if my partner was an asshole? Like, let them die first.
Fair.
But if it was someone that I couldn't see myself wanting to live without, then well, this is an interesting thing for me. Like, I think because my mum died when she was 50 years old, so
Young.
that let's get back to some vulnerable stuff. That in itself led to me making, like, just believing I'm gonna die young, right? Like my dad, who's commenting on my live streams, he's what, 75 now, so like I have that, like, a possibility as well of being able to live much longer. But because my mum died so young, I just had that mindset. It's like, I'm going to die young too, because her parents also died quite young. I think they were like in their 30s or 40s when they died, because she was like a teenager when her parents died. And so because of that, I'm just like, I'm going to live my life to make the most of it, because I don't know how long I'm going to live. I'm going to accomplish as much as I can in the time that I have. And then if, I'm still alive after that, then I guess I'll find another goal to pursue in a short time span. And then eventually, I'll have accomplished all these great things. So yeah, I think regardless, I'd probably be like, pick the die first, because I just have that expectation. I've done enough. I don't need to live a long time. Meanwhile, my son is like, wants immortality to be a thing, because he wants to live forever, and he wants everyone that he cares about to live forever, because he just doesn't want to have to deal with death at all.
Can he get us in on that?
Yeah, that'd be great.
I'm like, you gotta be a scientist and figure that shit out if you want it.
Would you rather save money or save time? Time.
I'd go with time. Yeah, I mean, like, obviously we've talked about already, like, loved ones who have passed away. Honestly, if you gave me a choice right now of $100,000 or one day more with my mom, I think I know which one I would pick. And they're just some things that just can't be replaced. Money can't buy everything, which is true in some instances. So yeah, I mean, I'd definitely go with that.
Yeah, I feel that.
Time.
After hearing that, I think I'm actually going to change my answer to money. And I'll tell you why.
Let me tell you why you're wrong.
Please do.
Greed. I have accepted a long time ago that whatever comes my way. My time to go is my time to go, and other people's time to go is other people's time to go. So if I mean, like, there's that choice of $100,000 or an extra day with your mom. I mean, that's a no-brainer. But if I'm looking at it from the perspective of prolonging my life beyond what has already been foreshadowed or destined or fate, what have you, I think I would choose money to ensure comfort for whatever remaining years that I have left, as well as hopefully be able to pass along some of those riches to posterity to make their life a little bit more comfortable.
That's a good answer.
I think when you first read the question, my initial thought was like more smaller scale. Like, if you're working on a project and you have the option of saving time or saving money.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Which would you prefer? Like, would you rather get it done faster and save time, or cheaper and take longer? Like, I don't know.
To that end, I am a bit of a perfectionist when it comes to like projects and stuff like that. If you've seen any of the cosplays that I've made, which I think you both have seen, I like to take my time and make sure that it has the care and detail, attention to detail that I care about. So I would say time in that one.
I think, yeah, just to go on that kind of view on it, like I worked part-time for an engineering company, and I would read through I had to edit through the proposals. And one thing I learned is that time equals money, very much so when it comes to, firms like that. And so I imagine with people saying, oh yeah, like you can literally throw money at a project, but if they can't time manage, we're just going to be bleeding dry. So at the end of the day, the time is money. So in some ways, time is probably the best thing, really.
What would you say, Dominica?
Yeah, I think I would rather save the time. So spend the money and get the time back. Focus the time on other things that are, more valuable to me.
Agreed.
Yeah.
It's strange because I think we can all agree that procrastination is one of life's greatest joys, because it's just relax and do whatever you want to do. But there are some things that you just can't replace.
Would you rather be gossiped about or never talked about at all?
Gossiped. I don't give a shit. I will say that, like, from speaking from experience of being in a relationship with somebody, or being involved with somebody that was not an official relationship, who did not want people to know about us, like, I was always constantly like, but what, who cares? Who gives a shit what they say about us? Like, what is wrong? Why does it matter? That was kind of so I would rather be talked about and gossiped about. Like, I don't care.
Oh, gossiped. I have an innate fear of being forgotten, and that I have not made an impact on the world or those around me. So that would actually feed into one of my fears, that nobody ever talks about me.
Yeah.
So gossip.
Same.
Yeah, I'm definitely in agreement with you two, because just to go on like what you were saying, Mike, about being forgotten. When I first got back from the States, when I was still very, very much attached to my wheelchair and I had to be fed and looked after, I noticed that the way people see you, strangers see you out in public, it's horrible. And like there was this one time, I'll never forget this, even though the person meant well. We were in a shopping mall, my mother and I, and we got into an elevator, and this gentleman, this perfectly nice guy, just came up to us and went, "Sorry, I don't mean to disturb you, but what's a young man like you doing in a wheelchair?" And it's a very innocent question, but that triggered me, and I couldn't process that. So it really depends. So obviously, like, even though if you have people gossiping, quote unquote, gossiping about you, it's definitely a tricky situation.
I guess it depends on what they say, but like, I'm at the point in my life now where I'm just like, I don't give a shit. I will lay myself bare to people, and if people want to gossip about it, then that's on them. That, at least I've been honest. And the other thing is, when you're laying yourself out and being completely honest about things, then whatever people say about you is like, but I told you already.
And you get to take ownership over it.
You get to take ownership of the story. You get to control the narrative if you're honest first. Like, I'm revealing stuff in my memoir that I have not talked about publicly with with anyone. There's a select number of people who do know some of my biggest secrets that I'm revealing here. Like,
Kill the man.
my
Yeah.
no, that would be incriminating. I don't have anything illegal in there, but like, you know,
Yes.
the memoir is primarily about my my relationship with my Malaysian ex, but I do have another ex-partner that I write about in there that it's not the best framing of myself in things. I'm pretty sure there will be people that hate on me for it, for what I reveal about this relationship. And he's given me like flat out, you know, permission to write whatever I want about things. And I was like, man, that's amazing that you're willing to have me. I mean, I don't out him in a
You don't
lot.
name him, do you?
I don't name him. I don't give too many specifics about him, but I think there's enough that a few people who know him would probably be able to figure out who it was. And I was like, are you sure that? But like, this is a situation where like my ex-husband threatened to out my relationship with this guy as like a threat for trying to get me to hold back in the divorce stuff. And I was like, I don't give a shit if you like whatever you reveal. I don't give a shit what you're seeing, like what you see. Like, that's not gonna hurt me like you think it will.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, I don't give a shit. Like, people are gonna think whatever they want to think about you, and the people that matter will still stand by you regardless.
I think the thing that we all have to take from this is you can only control yourself, your immediate orbit. You can't control others. You can't make others think X, Y, Z, think it from your perspective. All you can do is control yourself. So
Yeah.
True. Keep your thoughts in check. Would you rather be the star player on a losing football team or ride the bench on a winning one?
Ride the bench on the winning one, because I just can't imagine myself playing football at all. I'd rather be sitting on the bench the entire time. It's like, let me watch. That's fine. I don't need to be in the field getting hurt.
I don't care about sports. I don't.
Same.
So it would be gratifying to get praise and glory and accolades for the efforts of my teammates, because I don't care about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I choose the bench.
No, I think this is an interesting thing. I think because we're improvisers as well, so we're successful when our team is successful.
Okay, let's change the question. Let's take sports out of it. So, would you rather be the star player on a bad improv team or be on a great team but never know how to contribute?
Oh, okay. That's a harder one now, because I mean, as much as I love, no, I need to be working with a good team, but I also need to have some spotlights.
I'd probably go with.
No. He'll answer it when he comes back. I think I'd probably still pick the team one.
I think I'm gonna go with be the star player on a bad improv team, because that has been the case. Hey, and he's back. I've been the star player on a bad improv team before, and my philosophy is that I would rather let that be the case, because I'm the kind of person that I know how to reach down and pull people up in a scene and let everybody else shine with me, even if you don't know how to shine yourself. If you don't know how to make me shine, I know how to make you shine. So I would very much rather that be the case than for me to be on a team with all of the improv greats and for me to hang in the wings going, I don't know what to
I'm
do.
just thinking about a show that I actually did. So my So You Want a Job show. Did you watch that show when I took it to Alaska?
Describe it. I
And so
had
it
to
was
have.
yeah, it was
I
on
saw
the
all the
opening
shows.
night. And so it's like a reality TV style job interview at the very beginning. The audience uh or like I pull a card out of a deck of I'm getting inspired by card games of a job that my cast members think that they're interviewing for, and then they ask the audience what job what the cast members are actually interviewing for. And then we do like a narrative story afterwards, after the audience votes for who should get the job. So I developed this show so that I could take it to festivals, but also so I could work with my favorite improvisers, the people that I wanted to work with.
Yeah.
And so have rotating cast, right? So I did this show at Vemproviser Fest in San Francisco back in 2019, and I had an all-star cast. I had Betsy Green, I had Ada Nepom, and Jessica Ajay, and
Jeez, that's a stacked cast.
right, and I was not on stage very much, but they were amazing. So I'm just like, the fact that I got to work with them at all, I'm just like,
Yeah.
that's awesome. Because I mean, for me, it's like uh because it says something to me about like the fact that I'm an unknown person compared to them, right? In improv, and the fact that they were interested in working with me on my project that I developed, to me, raises what that is. Like it speaks volumes about what my project is if
Right.
people of that caliber want to work on it with me.
Sharad, you were halfway through a thought, and then you just David Copperfield on it.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Yeah, I think I would rather be the person that stands out in a good way, because that way I can elevate the people around me. Not because I've got this altruistic superhero kind of thing that I can help other people out, but I was like going back to the sports analogy thing. When I was younger, my coaches would always like mix all the teams up, the players up, because they said you're only as good as the people you play against, the people in your team.
Mhm.
So it's only natural if you're always surrounded by people on your level or lower, you might not necessarily get that oomph. But if you've mixed around with people who are higher than you, and then later on you share that with people who are not at that level and bring them up,
Yep,
then usually that works out better.
I agree.
So yeah.
But now the next question is, would you rather date someone you met online or go on a blind date?
Blind date. Just going by how I am now, because I've done the online dating thing in the past, and I'm not interested in doing it anymore. I would rather be set up with somebody that, you know, from a friend that recommends like, you two should get together. I think that would be interesting, and something I've never done before.
What about you, Mike?
I'm trying to think. I've definitely been on blind dates. I'm trying to think if I've ever been on an internet date, and I'm not so sure that I have.
Oh my goodness.
So there's this one girl that I went on a date with years ago, and I am trying to think of the circumstances, how we even met, how we even decided to go on a date with each other. And I genuinely don't know how that came about. That may have been an internet thing, but I also kind of don't think that it was. It was a terrible date. Not that there was anything wrong with the date itself, but like it became so explicitly clear to both of us that we were not, like, we didn't share any interests at all. Like, we were complete opposites. It was, yeah. But I don't know, to answer the question,
It's hard when you're married and you don't see there's either of those possibilities anytime in your future. Because you're going to be married till death do you part.
Until the
I don't
day
know. Blind date, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
I know for me, I think I definitely prefer the blind date because there's a lot of spontaneity that you get when meeting someone in person, and it's difficult because let's say obviously nowadays with technology, obviously we have all these video screens, pictures, fine, but compared to let's say back in the day where everything was through text, you know what I mean? So it's difficult. So you always have an image of someone in your mind, whereas when you're on the physical date, you're getting that in real time. There's no real kind of facade, although they could put a facade on, but it's much harder for them to do so. And I don't know. I think it's much more. It's a lot more honest on your part as well because you can just be you. So yeah.
Actually, this is reminding me. Tell me if you would count this as a blind date or not. So was it back in October? It was, I think. I had I'd signed up for this like new matchmaking thing online. Like it was very limited number of people who could do it, and they were like matchmaking you with other people who'd submitted stuff, and there was no photos attached or anything like that. And so I ended up going on a date with a guy. I had no idea what he looked like, but we had texted a little bit back and forth before we went out. Would that count as online, or would it count as a blind date, or neither?
How long did you text before?
Not very long. It was, I think probably within the week we met up. We just kind of had some back and forth, discovered that we both liked stand-up comedy, and he was planning on going to see Joe Coy, and he hadn't bought tickets yet, so he was like, why don't you come with me to see it? I'm like, okay. So yeah, that's what happened.
Combo of the both, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, granted, nothing came of it after that.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I talk too much. I talked about like my memoir. I was like talking about my ex, and I wrote about I'm just like, and like because I'm autistic, like I talked about my kids, and just like all of this stuff came out. Like he kept asking me questions, and when I'm in that kind of position, I forget to ask questions back. So it wasn't as much like back and forth in the in-person stuff. I was like, God damn, like, and it was weird because like I enjoyed his company, but I think compatibility wise, like there was one question that came up where he clearly wanted to have kids of his own in the future, and I already had kids, so I think that regardless of anything else, like that probably would have been a deal breaker. He probably would have thought she's not going to want to have kids. Like this is because she already has her own, like so yeah, regardless of anything else, I think there was that. But like I was telling him about all of the Malaysian stand-up comedians who were on Netflix. I'm like, look, these people.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I don't think I have too many more of these left in me.
That's
but
right. Before you ask the next question, it does look like we have a few viewers at the moment, and if you are just tuning in, feel free to just watch. You don't have to say anything. That is cool. If you want to ask us a question to make us get deep and vulnerable, feel free to drop a question for us in the chat. We will answer it for you.
Let's get vulnerable. Vulnerable. I want to get vulnerable.
Actually, Dominica, I think Mike might be onto something. If you can get someone on Fiverr to do a song based on that, I think that'd be
yeah,
that's pretty good.
Parody.
All right. For our viewers, would you rather hear the good news or the bad news first?
Bad news.
Bad news first.
right. In preference, if it's like, you know, you're gonna give me some criticism of myself. Like, I don't know. It's like I need a shit sandwich. Give me something positive, then negative, then positive. That's give me a shit sandwich.
Here's the thing. Sometimes the bad news grossly outweighs the good news. So like the good news could be something like, good news, I just bought you a brand new coat. Bad news is that it was stolen. You know? So like even reverse that. Well, the bad news is that someone just stole the jacket that I bought for you. But the good news is that I bought you a jacket. So it's
okay.
You know, I don't know. What is better?
I don't know. That's a tough one.
Oh, moving on. For our viewers, answer in the comment section below. Would you rather have your jacket stolen, or would you rather steal the jacket? Would you rather be proposed to in private or in front of family and friends?
Private.
Yeah, probably private.
Because if you do it in public, you have this.
There's more pressure. Yeah, there's more pressure. What if you don't want to marry them?
What if she says no? And I'm
just that outgoing, gregarious kind of person. I want it to be in public, even if my answer is we need to talk.
Really?
That would create the gossip, the aforementioned gossip that I want to be talked about.
That's funny.
Fair enough.
That's really funny.
Fun fact, my wife was engaged years ago, and she was proposed to at a baseball game in front of thousands of people. So with her face up there on the Jumbotron, she was kind of obligated to say yes. And yes. It was kind of one of the
that kind of situation.
Yes. No.
Just imagine like and I just leave. Please, not right now.
Yeah. So.
I know that this kind of reminds me of this thing I did a few years ago when I was still in Savannah. My female best friend, Tori, we're best friends. We love each other, but we have a strictly platonic relationship. And I just wanted to think, how can I embarrass her as much as possible? Like we have that kind of relationship.
Yeah.
And I remember like I was at this local mini mart, and you know when you have those little gumbo machines where there's like this little circular thing and you have a toy inside.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So this one had this toy ring, and so I thought, oh, jackpot. So the next time we were out together, like we were on this busy high street restaurants, musicians. It was really, really packed, and I thought, well, this is perfect. So it was like it was in late. It was around lunchtime, so people are having a few cheeky drinks, and I just grabbed her hand, and I remember her looking down at her hand. She was like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And then I got that in one knee, and you could see in real time her process. At first, she was like, "Oh my god!" Like she started packing. She's like, "Please don't do that." She like, "Please don't do this, please." And people around us got their phones out. People were like, "Oh my god, he's doing it!" And mind you, she and I were dressed nice because we just came back from a show. So I was wearing a shirt, tie. She was wearing a dress, and she was literally just going, "Please don't do this. Please don't do this. Please don't do this." And I remember like smiling, whispering to her, I was like, "I told you I was going to get that green card," and I just started so angry. She was like, "Please," and she was pulling away from my hand, and I just grabbed it, and I was like, "Victoria, I love you. I think about you all the time." And she's crying and laughing at the same time. And I just go, "Will you please do me the honor?" And like attached to the ring, the small cheeky ring, I actually attached the spare key to my apartment. So it's like a double. I was like, will you please do me the honor of holding my spare key? I've never seen relief. She was like, oh my fucking God. She just started smacking me. And then she's like, of course I will. Of course I will. And like, I just started hugging her, and people were coming up to us, like high-fiving us in the back, going, congratulations, congratulations. And I was like, ah. And yeah, so that was it was. But I remember, like, she would never trust me after that. Every other time we would be out in the public and I would reach for her hand, she would literally smack me and just start running. She's like, don't you pull that shit with me.
That's amazing.
Yeah. That was
on a somewhat tangential note, every now and again when I get into a particularly cheeky mood on the airplane, of course, I have to have a good rapport of, fun sense of silliness with some of my coworkers. Sometimes when we land into a city and I have to be working in the back of the airplane, right? And so the person in the front of the airplane makes all of the landing announcements. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Denver, where the local time is blah, blah, blah. We'll be coming into gate, blah, 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 whatever, right? And so after they finish their landing announcements, I will jump on the PA and say, ladies and gentlemen, this is a special announcement or something, right? If you really enjoyed your service today, you can really thank Nadine up front, or like whatever. Thank Nadine up front because today is a very special day. Today happens to be Nadine's birthday.
Oh, you son of a bitch!
and of course, like everyone erupts, like, "Yay, happy birthday!" And then of course, I'm in the back and she's all alone up front. So all the passengers walk by her and say, "Hey, happy birthday! Thanks so much! Happy birthday! Happy birthday!" And if the many years that I've been pulling this prank, only once has anyone ever called me out on it, and it was this last time that I did it. So hey, it's Nadine's birthday, and then Nadine gets on the PA and says, "Today's not my birthday." You threw me under the bus in front of everybody.
You said exactly like that. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not my birthday. Repeat, this is not my birthday.
Yeah, so it was. Hats off to her. I couldn't believe that she did that, but
that's funny.
Yeah. Next,
go for it.
Oh, I misread this word. So the question is, would you rather have a cook or a maid? But I read it as, would you rather have a cock or a what? Would you rather have a cook or a maid?
Maid.
A maid, because a maid can cook as well.
You're very clearly showing off your Malaysian-ness. That is clearly not the intent behind this question.
Well, I mean, okay.
Having had a maid in Malaysia, I understand where you're coming from.
I mean, if you're going on the Western metric, I'd still go with the maid because I love to cook.
Same.
And yeah, so I mean, between you and me, I find cooking a lot more alluring than doing laundry or putting your sheets on or vacuuming and mopping. So yeah,
likewise, I can cook and then the maid can clean up after me. That's awesome.
That's how it should be.
True.
In our household, I am both the cook and the maid.
Oh, bless you.
So am I in my household because
you're a mom.
I have no partner to help me.
Totally fair. Ooh, this is a good one. Would you rather explore space or the ocean?
I would rather explore space because the ocean scares me. So, because that they always say something like that. The ocean's only X amount of percentage explored. Like, well, obviously we can't go all the way down, right? And I'm just scared because obviously in space, like, obviously we're so used to Star Trek, Star Wars, what amazing things lie out there and what have you. It doesn't have to be sentient life, but what amazing things can we find. In the ocean, I'm just like, what kind of behemoth demon lies down there? And I'm like, not for me.
I'd pick ocean because
You're
You
weird.
are sooner going to find something in the ocean than you are in
That's what I'm worried
space.
about.
Yeah, that's
That's what I'm
true.
worried about.
But
Yeah.
but it's more interesting that way. Like you're more likely to die of. I mean, both places you could die,
Yeah.
right? But like, you can explore the ocean and then come back much easier than going off and exploring space and
Well, I
coming
mean,
back.
not necessarily. I mean, obviously, if we can explore space, I'm assuming then there's some sort of jump speed thingamajiggy, bobby thingamajiggy, I don't know, so, or whatever. So,
No. Go on. Keep explaining.
no, I
Faster
mean,
than light drive,
jiggy mabobbin,
What's
jump space continuum thingamajiggy,
hyperdrive,
for
faster
drive
than
thing.
light drive, all of
Exactly.
those things. You're acting like you've never watched a sci-fi show that you can't name what they are.
I sound like my dad, and like no, it's yeah, like I mean that's the thing. If you have the technical capabilities to hyperdrive or what's the other thing called sleep stasis, if you have that,
stasis.
yeah, I think that's super cool. So why not?
Oh man, see. Here's the thing. I have deep-rooted fear in both. But I've always been more mesmerized by the possibilities that lie in outer space. I am terrified of deep water, like terrified. But also like
But
I
it
think it was the
doesn't
movie.
specify that you have to explore the deep ocean. It just says ocean. You could explore
That's
the
even
surface.
scarier. Honestly, that's even scarier when you're out in the middle of the ocean and there's nothing around you, even if you're on the top. Like the idea that there could be something beneath you, that freaks me out so
That's
much.
terrifying.
Conversely, in outer space, there's nothing. It's just open vast.
Yeah.
But
That's what I find that more terrifying to me.
I think it was the movie Gravity that really kind of put it into my brain of like, wait a second, like there's just nothing. Like if you get was it George Clooney who ended up like floating away?
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, that to me is terrifying. But then also like because space is a vacuum, you're not experiencing sound. You have all this sensory deprivation aspect, and that would be hell for me. Like I couldn't.
If kind of going along with what Sharad said, if you could do a sleep stasis or warp speed or hyperdrive or whatever, that I think that would be a little bit different. Like if I could be a character in the movie, not that I want to fight an alien, but like in the movie Alien or something, where you get, or Avatar, if you can sleep stasis and get transported to another planet or something, I think that would be very appealing.
See,
to me.
I would be sleep stasis to me, I immediately think Red Dwarf. So that is more appealing. The things that they get up to is interesting.
Oh, that's such a good show.
I know it's not the only example of sleep stasis. All right, there was that one with shit. What are the names again?
Well, there was one with this movie called The Event Horizon where everyone was in stasis. So
I'm thinking of the romance one where there was just,
Passenger.
Yes, that one that I was thinking of. Yeah.
Because that turned out so well.
Yeah. Anyway, Red Dwarf is my favorite example of sleep stasis.
Do we have any comments from people watching?
No. Yeah, so
Come
clearly
on,
people are just enjoying our conversation, or Restream is lying to me that we have viewers.
Or maybe people are just putting it on to have sound in the background.
That's possible. Yep. I feel like this is the thing. Like I could totally convert and just put the audio on Spotify and make it a podcast as well. Yeah. Like I've turned this into I have a playlist on YouTube now for this, and I created it as a podcast playlist. So if people want to listen back to the other ones, they can go find the playlist.
I mean, we've done 3 episodes so far, including
this
one.
This is the 4th one. Because this is your 3rd one. Oh, you didn't join us that one week because you were busy. So I had so Sharad was here, but my other guest was Puppy Zach.
Who was last week's guest that is not here today?
Oh, Craig.
Craig.
Yeah.
Oh, Craig.
Or
This
Breckenmeyer as
Breckenmeyer. This next question is for Craig Breckenmeyer. Would you would you rather experience the beginning of planet Earth or the end of planet Earth?
I think end. Like, about fucking time, serves you right, assholes.
I'm gonna choose the beginning.
I don't know. The beginning does kind of scare me though, because I mean, by beginning, are you talking prehistoric or even before that?
I'm talking Big Bang.
Big Bang.
Big Bang.
Yeah.
Oh, but then that'd be
This
tricky.
is nothing. It's more
It's
nothing.
nothing.
Yeah,
It's
I'd
nothing.
rather see the destruction of it.
I tell you why I would love to experience the beginning of planet Earth, because I think there are so many fundamental questions about who we are and where we came from that would maybe not necessarily be answered, but there would be a better.
Okay, so here's before yeah, I'm thinking, would you see it like, because the pace of the beginning of planet Earth would be so slow. So would you be able to watch it over like millions of years for it to become
Something.
something, right? Or would you be able to watch it like in fast forward?
Oh no, fast forward.
Yeah, okay.
I can scrub through.
You can just hit the cliff notes. Yeah.
I mean, even then, like, previously we talked about the vastness of space. Like, there's a lot that you would miss if you scrub through and little details. But like, if you have the time to sit and zoom in on each little individual sector, rewind, zoom in, zoom out, fast forward, I think there could be a lot there. So, okay, let me back this up a little bit. I've been, ever since a few years ago, I did a deep dive on black holes and quasars, which are fucking terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. Anyway, so right now science only allows us to see one side of a black hole. We can't see the other side of a black hole because there's no light emanating from a black hole at all, right?
Yeah.
So when a black hole forms, or rather, the formation of a black hole, right? It comes from a dying star. So when a star implodes on itself, it doesn't explode, but it implodes. All of that gravity goes inside, and with all of that energy and matter, it's become so dense that a quasar is born. And for anyone who doesn't know what a quasar is, it's basically an energy beam, right? And it's just this incredibly magnanimous beam of energy that just shoots across space in one direction. But it's space, which means it should, by the laws of physics, shoot in both directions, right? But it doesn't. It only shoots in one direction. And then after all of that energy starts to die out and the quasar fizzles out, we're left with a black hole, which begs the question, where did all that energy go on the other side of the black hole? Throw my tie across my shoulder. I am of the opinion that is the Big Bang event for whatever universe that just got born, right? That's my personal theory. I don't really have much to base it on, but I would like to think that because I do believe in a God. I believe in a higher power. I don't know what this God or this entity looks or sounds like, even though we all have been told exactly what they look and sound like. Who knows what this higher energy, godlike entity is or how it functions. But I believe that there is some type of a guiding purpose to stuff like this. And that on the other side of that black hole, that is in another universe that just was born.
That'd be
Where
cool.
was I going with this? I was going.
That was why you wanted to see the beginning of.
Oh, right. Yes. Yes. Thank you. Yeah, that was it. Yeah. To kind of like trace that energy back. Like, where did the Big Bang come from? Because in our universe, everything that we know came from somewhere. And we know that matter is neither created nor destroyed. It's only changed.
Yeah.
Right. Same thing with energy.
Yeah.
So it has to come from somewhere. And if everything that we can see in it, and I'm looking out my window and I can see the moon right now, all of this was created by energy. Where did that energy come from? So it makes sense to me in my feeble, pea-brained little mind that energy would have come from a blast of a quasar in a black hole being born, stuff like that. So I think that would help to answer questions of like where we came from. Because like, is it just a chain upon a chain upon a chain? You know, did this universe come from that universe, and that universe came from another universe, and there's like almost infinite offshoots inside of each universe? Come on.
Wow. I don't ask those kinds of big questions. Like, I have enough to deal with in my own little bubble.
And maybe everything that I said is complete bullshit. I don't know.
I feel like my life is more. Sometimes it feels like I'm living in a computer simulation, especially when I'm repeating things that I've done before. But now I'm at like a next level. I was like, I've done this video game level before. Will you make me do it again? Now I'm like higher, player level or whatever.
You're just stuck in the matrix. Is that your lifestyle?
Yeah. But there are other times where I do feel like I don't believe in God per se, but I do use the term universe to describe this other, kind of guiding something,
like a cosmic entity.
Yeah. That there have been experiences that I've had in my life, and it's like this can't be just coincidence. Like, something happened to make this happen, for all of these pieces to fall into place for this to happen. So, I don't have any answers for that. I just know what my experience has been.
I mean, it's tricky because if you think about it scientifically, even the fact that we're here from the Big Bang, do you know how 0.0000000 the odds of that happening are? So I mean, it's so incomprehensible that it makes you think that surely if we're here, there has to be something, right? You think so? So I mean, why not? I mean, it's worth looking into, because like as well, like, obviously not. I think religions are tricky because they're man-made constructs, which is understandable. But sometimes I think when people are at death's door, I don't think maybe it's just the chemical imbalance on in their brains or the medicine they're taking, but just something just to share with you two. Like the night before my
something
mom
to share with us and the rest of the internet.
That's right. And the 3 people we're supposedly watching right now.
I mean, like the night before my mom passed, she was earlier that day. She told me that that she saw my grandfather, my grandmother, and my aunt who had passed on, and that my grandfather was saying, "It's okay, you can. We're ready for you." And then the night before she passed, she told me that earlier that day she was sleeping, and when she woke up, she could hear my dog Shadow, who had passed the year before. She could hear him at her bed, just like kind of like making like that sound of like trying to get her attention. And then when she opened her eyes, she couldn't see him. But then later on, she started to see him and his tail started wagging, and that told me that he came back for her. And I like to think in my heart that I think there is something. I think there is something. I don't think we know what it is. I don't think that there's no organized religion that can tell us, okay, it's XYZ.
Yeah.
But I do think there is something.
I 100% agree with you, Sharad. My mum went through pretty much the exact same thing when she when she was, before we'd moved her to the hospice, she explained that she had seen her parents calling for her and welcoming her, to get to see. So she was like really grateful to be able to see them again. So yeah, like there's too many examples of people having those kinds of experiences on death's door for me to think that it's not real. Like that it has to be. Like if there's so many people that have had those kinds of experiences, I don't think it can't be drugs, right? Like if it's whatever. My mum had only had chemotherapy. She wasn't on anything else.
I'll tell you a true story. Well, I mean, in addition to the exact same story that you guys shared, my same thing happened to my grandmother. Same exact thing. So, but with my dad, this is a story that I don't share with people, unless in like small like. So I have my reservations about sharing this on the internet, but it just because it doesn't feel like we're sharing on the internet. I feel like I'm just sharing with you two.
Yeah.
I'll still share it. So my dad died from cancer. Technically it was pneumonia, but we all know it was cancer, right? He died on a Saturday night. But the week before, he had the Sunday before or the Saturday before, something happened and like he was rushed to the ER. Like he fell, or I can't exactly remember what it was, but he was rushed to the ER. And it was the kind of thing that like it was so concerning to all of us that I hopped on a train from New York to Fredericksburg, Virginia. It was like a 5.5 hour train. And I got there at like 8 o'clock in the morning. Monday morning. So I get to the hospital super early Monday morning. My dad is there. He was in really rough shape, and we're all like, maybe because his birthday was in 2 weeks, maybe we should just throw him a makeshift birthday. So we went out. We did a makeshift birthday for him that night, and I'm so glad that we did because the next day on Tuesday morning, so like my dad had like a ventilator mask kind of a thing. And because he hated wearing it, he kept pulling it off. So he pulled it off while he was sleeping Tuesday morning, and he got blue in the face to the point where like his skin actually turned blue. I just happened to show up at the hospital while all the bells and whistles were going off. And so I asked the nurse, like, what's going on? And she's like, call everyone and get them here now. And I was like, oh shit. So I called my whole family, everybody came over, and we knew today was going to be the last day. Now this is on a Tuesday, mind you. He died on a Saturday. So we all made the collective decision that dad was in such bad, rough shape that it would be the best thing for everyone if we induced a coma and just let him pass on his own, which we did. So Tuesday turned into Wednesday, blah, 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 right? So one of the last things he said to us, because he kind of kept going in and out of lucidity before we put him in a coma, and that's when we were really like, yeah, you need to go into coma. So we're all around his bed. Even some of the neighbors came, and so we're all around the bed, holding his hand, singing prayer hymns and whatever. And while he's kind of like going around saying goodbye to everyone individually, he turns to me and he says, make sure that you warm the car up for your mother. And I was like, oh, that's a weird thing to say, mister. I'm passing in and out of lucidity. keep in mind, this was April in Fredericksburg, Virginia. So pretty warm. The temperature outside is pretty warm. And so, like, he said, make sure that you warm the car up for your mother. And I was like, oh, he thinks he's somewhere else. Okay, Dad, I will warm the car up. It's fine. Put him into a coma. Tuesday turns to Wednesday, turns to Thursday, turns to Friday, turns to Saturday. And we asked the nurses, why hasn't he died yet? And they said, oh, well, he has so much oxygen coming in through his mask, whatever, that it's just kind of keeping him alive. And I'm like, well, we all decided, let's take the oxygen down and let him slowly pass away. And so we did. 2 to 3 hours later, we get the phone call. We're all at home. We'd left the hospital for a few hours, and we get the phone call that he'd finally passed. And so I'm like, all right, I guess we need to hop in the car and go back to the hospital. And I walk outside. It was fucking snowing outside. And it was cold. And I was like, what? It's April. What?
Wow.
And so it was cold enough that I actually had to warm the car up so that Mom didn't freeze her ass off on the drive to the hospital. And it was like, it blew my mind. Because at the time, okay, you're passing in and out of lucidity. Okay, sure, whatever. That it seemed like a completely incoherent thing to say. But is there a possibility that was a coincidence? Yes. There's always a possibility.
But it seems like that's a really, that's
oddly specific. Yeah.
It's very specific.
So, I've had other types of experiences, not like that, but other types of experiences that just have proven to me, I can't prove it to anybody else, but to me, I believe that there's something else. There's something else out there.
I know, it's really interesting because, as I said, a lot of my family members are medical doctors, and a lot of them have told me that whenever, let's say, patients are at death's door, they will say something that's very profound, very, very strange. And those that are they're able to bring back, they always say, "Oh, so what did you see, or what did you do?" And they're like, "Oh, I've got no idea, but it was intense."
Mm.
And so most of them will say, "Oh, I don't know, but I felt amazing," or blah blah blah. So it just makes me think there could be something. There could be something. Who knows?
Have you guys ever seen the movie Contact?
Oh yeah. Oh my God. So good. Yeah.
That movie blows my mind.
Same.
But the big takeaway from that movie for me was the end of the film where she goes to space and has this big long interaction with aliens, blah blah blah, whatever. And then she comes back and no time had passed at all. And so when she's at the end of the movie, she's on trial with Congress, and they're all arguing what to do with her. Was this whole experience faked? Blah blah blah, whatever. And it ends with this quiet moment of a phone call from one senator or congressman to another saying, "Okay, well, yeah, there was nothing on that videotape except for 18 hours of
18 hours, right?
static."
Mm.
But there was 18 hours of static.
Right.
Where did that footage go? Or why was there 18 hours?
How is that possible? Mm-hmm.
So I think about that a lot in terms of, look at all of the experiences that so many people have had. And all of these experiences, I mean, there's similarities, sure, but they're wildly different experiences.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is that there are so many, and there is that thread of connectability. There's got to be something there.
I hope
Yeah.
so.
Yep.
Or maybe at the end of the day, we just
Disappear. Oh, he's gone.
That's funny.
gone, but you can still hear me.
Oh, it's the guiding voice. It's my conscience. Jiminy Cricket, is it you?
Ah, come on, Pinocchio.
Oh, that's funny.
Just kidding, it's me.
Oh my God, I was wrong. It's not Jiminy Cricket.
Dominica, would you rather live in an apartment in the city or in a mansion in the country? Whoa!
Oh,
Hey guys, did I miss anything?
Oh, that's a good question. Disembodied voice. Was that actually a card? I'm happy to answer that question.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm such a city person. I need to have my city fixes. I need to be able to go out and do things in the city. So I'd pick the apartment, I think.
I currently live in an apartment in the city, and that is by choice. So
Yeah.
But because also, like, if you have a mansion, I mean, maybe if you're that rich, you can afford a maid. But what if you just happen to have the mansion and you can't afford to clean it? Oh my God.
Whenever someone gives me that kind of question, I go into under the presumption that you have an aunt who you never knew who left you this mansion. But it's yours, but you don't have any money. You just have the mansion, the upkeep.
Yeah.
You're like,
Yeah.
fuck,
And how expensive would the property taxes be? Oh my God. Right? No, you're like, I'd have to sell it and then I'd buy the apartment in the city.
That's a great point, because the property taxes most likely would be more expensive than an apartment in the place where you already want to be in anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So there you go. Have the mansion, then sell it and buy the apartment in the city and have money left over.
Always
invest it. There you go. That's the correct answer to that question.
That's actually pretty good. That's actually pretty good.
Not bad. Well, friends, I think I need to call it because I need to go to bed and then wake up and then interview you.
Oh yeah, shit! You got to interview me tomorrow morning. Oh my God!
What time is our appointment?
I think you said 10. Was it 10:30 my time and
10:30 your time, 1:30 my time. Okay, good. Because I was thinking it was earlier, and I was like, whoa.
It's like no. I would have been like, no, that's too early for me.
Tomorrow's a full day.
But yeah, okay. We can only go that 30-minute slot because I have a thing that I'm watching on LinkedIn at 11 my time, so like right afterwards. Because being unemployed.
I have to run and go coach an improv team, and like right after we finish recording.
Wow!
I've got a full day tomorrow.
Okay. Well,
today was a lot of fun. This was actually philosophical. I really enjoyed it.
I enjoy it. This is why I want to do this stream, and like I keep doing it, and I love it because we just keep talking about just amazing things that I wouldn't ordinarily have in my day-to-day life, you know.
I was just thinking about that. Like, I don't have these types of discussions with anybody else.
No, I mean the closest thing I get to is when you're with your buddies and you just go, do you think you can beat this guy in a fight if you only use his leg? I don't know. But would you, would you sleep with that? But she's only got one leg, and you're like, oh, I don't know.
These are the kinds of conversations that you have when I'm not around. I see.
Yeah, I am a very, very simple creature.
Dominica, cut your leg off so we can have a conversation about it.
No.
We'll
how much are you gonna pay me for it? You're just like, baby, if that's
I'm
gonna
not
be
paying
my
you
no.
to be interviewed, so I'm not paying you for that.
I'll give you the best 5 minutes of your life, so don't worry about it. It's okay.
5 minutes. Better
Well,
hold him
six
to
if,
that.
yeah, 6 if I, well, 4 if I've been drinking. So yeah. There you go.
Okay, let's move on. All right, so we're gonna end up. If we do still have viewers, thank you so much for watching it. It says we still have 3 viewers. This is, you know, I will check the YouTube analytics later, because sometimes it says that there's viewers and then my analytics is like, yeah, no one was actually watching. Maybe it's because I also streamed to Twitch at the same time. I don't know if anyone's watching on Twitch either. I don't know. It's it stays on YouTube. It does not stay on Twitch after like 2 weeks. So I'm more consistent with the YouTube stuff. But yeah, if you've been enjoying, thank you so much for watching. It's fine for not chatting, but next time, feel free to ask us questions in the future.
If we get 10 consistent viewers for a minimum 1 hour, 10 viewers for 1 hour, I will gladly break wind.
On camera?
On camera.
I'm gonna have to take this clip and reduce it, share it across social media. Like, yeah, that's the promo. I need to figure out how to do that. I think I can download it. Does my computer have enough hard disk space to store a 3-hour live stream? I don't know. That's a prelude to not the real thing.
You're not going to guess what just happened.
Well, your dog just woke up.
Well, not only did Athena wake up, but it called her to me.
Oh, kitty.
Yeah.
Oh.
You want to see me fart on camera?
See if you can get. We'll see if you can get her to fart on camera. Yeah, that'd be pretty good.
You don't want to see that.
No.
Yeah.
Just flaming red asshole. No, thank you.
You definitely do not.
I do try. I've been trying to do this thing weekly. It's not always on the same night. Last week we were on Friday night, so we'll try and do this next week as well. But we'll coordinate and see if we can figure out another time. And if you're not already subscribed to my channel, hit that subscribe button and how did I say notification list? Hit the notification bell so that you can make sure that you're notified when we go live.
Do it again. Tell people to hit the notification bell.
And hit that like button.
Hit the notification bell. There you go. Yeah, likes, that helps too. I don't know. I'm genuinely checking the YouTube analytics now. So I'm just like, I have a data analytics background now, so I'm just like, I'm obsessed. Like, let me look at these stats.
And if you don't subscribe, she's gonna get angry, and you're not gonna like her when she's angry.
I was like, I have a Hulk in my background too.
Worst comes to worst, we'll get Mike's cat to fart on you. So.
But yeah, thank you so much for joining. And if you watched after the fact, awesome. I hope you enjoyed it. And until next time, bye.